He had never been inside this office before. The principal's office was decorated in a very simple style, with a scholarly atmosphere. The office was simply furnished, with a large desk piled high with stacks of documents. There were green plants under the table, and various banners on the wall, all of which were awards that Magic Science University had won over the years. Principal Deng Shiki, on the other hand, sat in a chair. Above his head was a framed calligraphy scroll. That's right, it's the motto of the Magic University. Aspire to become a talent and serve the country and benefit the people. At this moment, Deng Shiki was wearing a white shirt, just like the Tai Chi uniform that an old man would wear when practicing Tai Chi in the morning. He was holding a calligraphy brush in his hand, but it was unclear what he was writing. Upon seeing Mu Ziomo enter, Deng Shiki immediately broke into a smile. He pointed to the chair next to the table and smiled. "Little Mo is here, please have a seat." "Hello, Principal Deng Tilda, thank you." Mu Ziomo was surprised by Deng Shiki's politeness, and suddenly felt a little flustered. Mainly, chatting face-to-face with the president of the Magic University was quite an adjustment. "You're too kind, Ziomo." Deng Shiki poured a cup of water into a teacup and placed it in front of Mu Ziomo, saying, "I think you must be very curious as to why I called you here." Mu Ziomo nodded. Noticing Mu Ziomo's expression, Deng Shiki continued, "Today I asked the school's referees if you know how long it took you to run the last 100 meters in the second round." Mu Ziomo frowned slightly. To be honest, he really didn't know how long he had been running. The final formula only gave the total time for 4x 100 meters, without mentioning the time for one person. He asked how much. 9.31 seconds. He rarely watches Olympic programs, and had no idea whether 9.31 seconds was fast or slow. He asked, "Isn't that pretty fast?" Deng Shiki, Mu Ziomo seems to know nothing. Deng Shiki laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha, Ziomo, you're so funny. 9.31 seconds, that's enough to put you in the top 10 in the world." Good heavens! Mu Ziomo was stunned. Was she really that awesome? He smiled and said, "I used to train with my dad a lot when I was a kid. I like to exercise, so it's normal." Deng Shiki nodded. He glanced at Mu Ziomo's muscles and knew that he trained regularly. Then Deng Shiki continued, "The reason I'm here today is to ask you for a favor." Upon hearing this, Mu Ziomo was a little confused. Good heavens, the principal asked him for a favor. That's outrageous. Whatever the principal says, I'll do. As a student of the Magic Science University, I'll definitely do what I can. Deng Shiki was quite satisfied with this answer. He nodded slightly and said, "Well, my grandson is 14 years old this year and is currently in the 3rd year of junior high school. He will graduate next year. He is a sports student. Could you please train his physical fitness? With your physique, I know you have your own training methods. I've consulted many sports coaches, but it seems like none of them have shown any results." So, Mu Ziomo was stunned. This is too outrageous. Training his grandson. What? Just then, the system's voice suddenly came through. "Ding, congratulations, host. You have embarked on a 3-choice journey. The rewards will vary depending on your choice. Option 1, agree to Deng Shiki's request and pat your chest, saying, 'Don't worry, Principal Deng, leave this to me, I can definitely complete it.' Reward title, Principal Simp. Option 2, refuse Deng Shiki's request and say, 'No, I still have a date with Professor Mu. Who do you think you are?' Reward unknown. Option 3, agree to Deng Shiki's request and let him help you solve the drone delivery incident. Reward, 1 bottle of Zyode medicine for Deng Shiki's grandson to use. P.S. Thanks to Escapee from Mental Hospital for the character summon and show off. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who sent flowers. It's not too much for Xiaming to ask Bo Huahua again, is it?" Blushing. Chapter 135, New Connections, Deng Shiki. Mu Ziomo was speechless. These 3 options, even a dog wouldn't choose the first 2. The principal's sycophant, who does he think he is? Mu Ziomo felt that if he had mentioned the second option, he would not be far from death. At the very least, he can't survive at the Magic University. The third one is all right too. Although I don't really want to be his grandson's coach, I still need to ask him for help with the drone delivery thing. If this business venture succeeds, making a fortune shouldn't be a problem. When the time comes, I'll just buy an apartment in a neighborhood near the University of Science and Technology of China. Living with Ningning, Omega. Thinking of this, Mu Ziomo smiled like an ant. Deng Shiki, who was standing next to him, frowned when he saw his strange expression. What is Mu Ziomo doing? Noticing Deng Shiki's expression, Mu Ziomo quickly said, there's no problem with the principal. I'll create a training plan for him. As long as he follows the plan strictly, I can guarantee that his physique, speed, endurance, and explosiveness will improve dramatically. Upon hearing Mu Ziomo's words, Deng Shiki's eyes lit up, because Mu Ziomo was too confident in what she said. He likes confident people. Okay, hahaha, I'll leave this matter to you, Ziomo. But, just as Deng Shiki was feeling smug, Mu Ziomo suddenly said a but. Deng Shiki's expression immediately calmed down. After all, this is asking Mu Ziomo for help. It would be reasonable for him to make some requests. Deng Shiki didn't continue speaking, but instead focused his gaze on Mu Ziomo. Principal Deng, I have a favor to ask you. Ziomo, please speak freely. Deng Shiki looked at Mu Ziomo with considerable curiosity, while Mu Ziomo said, well, I'm thinking of starting my own business recently, so I can earn an income while I'm still in school. Oh, upon hearing his words, Deng Shiki's eyes were full of admiration. There aren't many people with his level of awareness anymore. In fact, the University of Science and Technology of China has a student entrepreneurship park. If you can make a name for yourself in college, you'll avoid many pitfalls after graduation. Deng Shiki said, sure, if you're starting a business. Do you need my help? He nodded and decisively voiced his thoughts. My idea is to partner with the cafeteria and major shops outside the school to deliver meals to students using drones. Deng Shiki was a little confused when he heard Mu Ziomo's words. What is that? Using drones to deliver food. Upon hearing his words, Deng Shiki was completely dumbfounded. Seeing Deng Shiki's expression, Mu Ziomo said seriously, Principal, I know you are surprised to hear me say this, but this is indeed my opinion. Because that's what I'm currently studying. I feel that robots can completely replace human beings in the future. I think if this project can really be put into use, and if leaders from outside the school come here to inspect it, it will be a major highlight of our school. Upon hearing Mu Ziomo's words, Deng Shiki frowned. In fact, he also wanted to give Mu Ziomo such an opportunity. The ban on food delivery at Magic University has indeed caused dissatisfaction among many students, and he is currently planning to reinstate it. However, using drones to deliver food is no small matter, as it involves many aspects such as equipment, delivery methods, and safety. Ziomo, I can give you a chance to do this, but I need you to come up with a detailed plan. No problem. Mu Ziomo was overjoyed, never expecting Deng Shiki to agree so readily. As for giving him a detailed plan, that was within his expectations. After all, this is no small matter. Seeing Mu Ziomo's smile, Deng Shiki laughed and said, Haha, actually I'm quite looking forward to this. It's settled then. After I review the plan, you need to demonstrate it to me again. If it's feasible, I will announce it to the school. Okay. At this moment, Mu Ziomo suddenly thought of his grandson, so he asked, By the way, Principal, when will I become your grandson's coach? Every day after he gets out of school. Deng Shiki thought about it carefully and then said, He gets out of school at 6 o'clock every afternoon now. You can set the training time. Okay. Deng Shiki didn't specify a time for him, but let him find his own time, which was good. Seeing that Mu Ziomo had no objections, Deng Shiki said, Then, how about starting next week? After the sports meet, you can rest for a few more days, and then I'll have my grandson contact you and get your phone number. Okay. After leaving her phone number, Mu Ziomo exchanged a few more polite words with Deng Shiki and then left the office. Just as he stepped out of the office, the system's voice came through. Ding, congratulations on completing the mission. Your network of contacts has increased by 1. Mu Ziomo was taken aback. Could this connection be Deng Shiki, the president of the Magic University? Yes, host. The system gave him feedback, and Mu Ziomo took a deep breath. Goodness, if he could raise his grandson exceptionally well, he could turn to Deng Shiki for help in the future. As the president of the Magic University, his network of connections must be extremely extensive. Without giving it much thought, Mu Ziomo happily skipped back to her dorm. At this moment, Huang Wenxu, Bai Yuntao, and Du Yang were eating. Knowing that Mu Ziomo had gone to the principal's office immediately, they had brought him, his father, a meal out of filial piety. Brother Mo, the food is on your table. By the way, what did the principal want to see you about? Huang Wenxu chewed as he spoke, and the rice in his mouth practically sprayed out. Mu Ziomo rolled her eyes. It's nothing, he just asked if I was single. He wanted to introduce his granddaughter to me. Huang Wenxu, Bai Yuntao, Du Yang, what is that? The three of them were stunned when they heard Mu Ziomo's words. Holy crap, is this for real? On one side is Professor Mu, and on the other is the granddaughter of the president of the Magic Science University. Brother Mo, you're amazing. Yes, yes, do you have a picture of his granddaughter? Let me see if she's pretty and if she has big breasts. Mu Ziomo rolled her eyes at Huang Wenxu and Bai Yuntao with a look of disdain. Goodness, I can't believe they actually believed it. Mu Ziomo quickly said, no, you guys actually believed me, I was just bragging. Depend on... Oh shit. The two men's faces darkened and Huang Wenxu asked, what does the principal want with you? His grandson is in the 3rd year of junior high school and will take the high school entrance exam next year. He is studying physical education and wants me to be his grandson's coach. This, Buff, Chapter 136, son. When are you bringing your girlfriend home? Huang Wenxu chuckled. Ha ha ha, damn, I thought it was something serious, but it turns out it's just being a tool. So, is the principal paying you a salary? What kind of salary are you talking about? Mu Ziomo shook her head. It would be fine as long as I get paid. It's just like being free labor. Bai Yunt, Brother Mo, I'll give you 3 seconds of silence, and the remaining 57 seconds will be for laughing, ha 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 ha. Du Yang, so, you agreed. Mu Ziomo shrugged. After all, he is the principal. I can't refuse the principal no matter what, right? Yes, Huang Wenxu still had a gloating smile on his face. Brother Mo, you're such a pure and innocent bastard, haha. Go away and play somewhere else. Mu Ziomo reached out as if to slap Huang Wenxu, but Huang Wenxu quickly moved aside. After finishing her meal, Mu Ziomo took a shower and had just laid down on the bed when she received a message on WeChat. Who else could it be but Mu Baining? Momo, have you gone back to your dorm? What did the principal want to see you about? It's nothing. Mu Ziomo sent 4 words, then continued typing. The principal wants me to be his grandson's sports coach. Mu Bainings. She expressed particular bewilderment. To be the principal's grandson's sports coach. What the heck? Seeing the 3 question marks, Mu Ziomo gave a brief explanation. He said things like his grandson is about to take the high school entrance exam and is studying physical education, and that Principal Deng believes he can take good care of his grandson. Mu Baining was both amused and exasperated when she saw his message. What kind of mess is this? She asked, so you said yes. Well, we still have to give the principal face, especially since he promised to resolve the issue of drone delivery for me. Mu Baining was taken aback when she saw the message from Mu Ziomo. Mu Ziomo actually negotiated with the principal. This brat has some nerve. Mu Ziomo and Mu Baining talked about everything for more than half an hour before closing their eyes to take a nap. In the afternoon, the exercise continued as usual, but Mu Ziomo no longer had any events. The 5,000-meter race was the day after tomorrow, so he spent the entire afternoon studying the structure of the drone. 9 o'clock in the evening. Mimi, how can you be so cute, Tilda? Mu Ziomo, Mu Baining, and Liu Weiwei were petting cats in the cat cafe at that moment. Of course, Liu Weiwei had only just found out that this cat cafe was actually owned by Mu Ziomo. There are hardly any customers in the shop right now, except for a little girl drinking coffee and reading a book in a corner. Liu Weiwei held the little cat Su Bing in her arms, petting and cuddling the cat like crazy. Su Bin's head was pressed tightly against Liu Weiwei's chest. Other kittens don't do this. Only Su Bing, whenever a young lady holds him, he will bury his head in her chest. This kitten's head must be full of yellow paste. Ning Ning Momo, can I take the shortbread back with me and eat it for a few days? Liu Weiwei couldn't help but say that golden-shaded cats are so cute and good-looking that it's hard for her not to like them. Recently, Mu Baining left Wanzi at the cat cafe. Upon hearing Liu Weiwei's voice, Mu Baining said, I was just thinking of taking Wanzi back with me. With Su Bing keeping him company, Wanzi won't be bored. Is that okay, Momo? This silent sound left Mu Ziomo somewhat bewildered. Good heavens, Mu Baining actually acted coquettishly. Men are most vulnerable to a woman's coquettishness, so he could only say, okay, whatever you want, Ning Ning. Don't forget this shop is all yours now. Didn't I tell you? I gave this shop to you a long time ago. Omega. Mu Baining chuckled, hummed in agreement, and nodded emphatically. Meanwhile, a dark cloud was gathering above Liu Weiwei's head, and it was raining. I feel like I've been fed another mouthful of dog food, a Chinese slang term for witnessing public displays of affection. Now, Mu Baining's boyfriend has given her the shop, and her boyfriend is still nowhere to be found. Oh, though. No, I have to find a boyfriend. At this moment, Liu Weiwei had already made up her mind. I can't be alone anymore. They played in the shop for another 10 minutes or so before leaving together. Liu Weiwei was holding Su Bing, who had fallen asleep right there in her arms. Maruko was still a kitten, so Mu Baining simply put him into a cat backpack. Arriving at the fork in the road, the evening breeze of late October was incredibly refreshing. Mu Baining turned her head and stared at Mu Ziomo. Momo, then Weiwei, and I will go back first. Let's have breakfast together tomorrow morning. No problem. Mu Ziomo stepped forward and cupped her face in her hands. Then, ignoring Liu Weiwei watching, he went straight up and kissed her on the lips. Liu Weiwei. Because Liu Weiwei knew that the two of them were dating, it wasn't a problem for them to be a little intimate. Reluctantly parting her lips, Mu Ziomo waved to him. Then, Ningning, I'm going back. I'll contact you tomorrow morning. Okay, bye. Soon, Mu Ziomo disappeared at the end of the road. Mu Baining was holding a bag containing meatballs in her arms when she turned her head, and her eyes met Liu Weiwei's. Liu Weiwei's expression at this moment was as ugly as if she had swallowed 2 flies. Upon seeing Liu Weiwei's gaze, Mu Baining chuckled. What's wrong, Weiwei? Why do you look so upset? What do you think? Liu Weiwei huffed angrily. They're so affectionate in front of me, showing off their love, kissing and cuddling. Wah. What did you say back then? Who said it was impossible for you and Mu Ziomo to be together? Seeing Liu Weiwei looking like a wronged little girl, Mu Baining was speechless. Mu Baining, Momo and I are still in the honeymoon phase. Isn't it normal for us to kiss and show affection? Oh, you should also consider how I, a single dog, feel. All right, all right. Liu Weiwei was genuinely jealous, and Mu Baining quickly comforted her. It's not like you can't find a boyfriend. Don't feel wronged. Let's go back quickly. HMPH? Liu Weiwei rolled her eyes at her. I feel like it won't be long. Before you and Mu Ziomo move out to live together, hurry up and get pregnant and have a baby. Mu Baining was taken aback. Vivi the dog is barking again. She said, don't talk nonsense. It's too early to have a baby. We knew teachers don't get maternity leave for the first 3 years, didn't you know? But your shop is very profitable. Whether I become a professor or not is up to me. All right, stop talking nonsense. On the other side, after returning to her dormitory, Mu Ziomo took out her phone. He discovered that his father had sent him a message. Son, when are you bringing your girlfriend home so I can meet her? Chapter 137. Damn, Dad deleted him. Mu Ziomo was speechless. Goodness, did Dad only remember this after he got back from his trip with Mom? Although they are in their 40s or 50s, his father is still incredibly romantic. I often take my mom on trips to various places and have all sorts of fun. They're just like a couple deeply in love. He particularly admired his father for being able to maintain this. He remembered that his parents seemed to have gone on a trip at the beginning of October, and his sister came to see him because their parents were not at home. They can't exactly say they played for a whole month, can they? His dad is definitely capable of doing that. Mu Ziomo lay in bed and replied to her father, Dad, you finally remembered you're back from your trip. His father replied, I'm back now. You and your Professor Mu have confirmed your relationship, haven't you? Otherwise, my 200,000 yuan would have been wasted. After thinking about it carefully, Mu Ziomo remembered that on the day he confessed to Mu Baining, his father also set off fireworks for 30 minutes. A 30-minute fireworks display isn't expensive, but if many places set them off simultaneously, it becomes expensive. His father didn't contact him during this time. Since he went to university, his father hadn't paid much attention to him. It's completely different from when I was in high school. They even stopped giving him living expenses. Oh. Mu Ziomo replied narcissistically. Dad, how could your son, who is so handsome, not be able to handle a professor? Manipulating the professor is as easy as having hands. Little Mo's dad. It seems this child has inherited his narcissistic genes. His father continued, As expected of my son, when you have time, bring your girlfriend back to visit us. Your grandparents and maternal grandparents are all eager to see you after they heard you have a girlfriend. After seeing the message, Mu Ziomo thought for a moment. From now until the spring festival, it seems there will be no holidays. However, it's not a problem to take some time to go back and visit occasionally. If all else fails, I should take a few days off. Mu Ziomo typed, Dad, it's fine. We don't need another means of transportation to get back. The Ferrari 488 is pretty good. I have 10,000 here. Give me another 4.99 million. He waited a while, but his father didn't reply to his message. Dad, are you still there? Dad, the other party has enabled friend verification. but you are not yet their friend. Mu Omo. Damn, Dad deleted him. Like 2 days later in the afternoon. Good. Mo is great. Moko is awesome, my baby. 666. In the 5,000-meter race, Mu Omo was the first to cross the finish line, drawing cheers from the entire crowd. The weather was sunny and the temperature wasn't very high today, but after the 5,000-meter run, he was covered in sweat. If this stops suddenly and a breeze blows, it's easy to catch a cold. Mu Baining had specifically instructed Huang Wenxu to prepare a jacket in advance and wait for him at the finish line. Seeing that Mu Omo had finished running, he quickly surrounded her and draped his clothes over her shoulders, and handed him a bottle of Green Bull energy drink. Brother Mo, are you all right? Here, quickly put your clothes on. Mu Omo, panting heavily, said, It's nothing. I feel like even if you fought me now, you might not be my match. Huang Wenxu, damn it, is this even human language? I come over here like a grandson, draping a coat over you and handing you a drink, and you tell me I can't beat you right now. Seeing Huang Wenxu's expression, Mu Omo quickly said, Just kidding. I won 3 medals in this competition. I'll treat you to 3 meals of hedi lao, a type of hot pot, later. Hee, torture. Upon hearing Mu Omo's words, Huang Wenxu immediately calmed down. Next, Mu Omo participated in receiving the award. Soon, he and Huang Wenxu returned to their seats in the classroom. The 5,000-meter race was the last event of the games, meaning that the race Mu Omo participated in was the last one. The closing ceremony of this year's autumn sports meet is about to end. Mu Baining wasn't here at the moment. She had some things to take care of at school, so she didn't see him run the 5,000 meters. Of course, that's not important. Importantly, he did not disappoint Mu Baining's expectations in this competition and successfully won the championship. Each person can only register for 3 events, and Mu Omo won the championship in all 3 events. This has never happened before in the history of the games. More than an hour later, after the closing ceremony of the sports meet, Principal Deng Shiki gave another speech before the students were dismissed. Tomorrow is the weekend, a perfect time to get some rest. Mu Omo yawned, stretched her neck, and prepared to leave. Just then, Mu Baining returned, having finished her work at the school. Today she was wearing a wool coat, beige trousers, and white sneakers. With her long hair flowing freely, she looked like a pure and innocent young girl. Upon seeing Mu Omo, a bright smile immediately appeared on her face. She looked around to make sure no classmates were paying attention to her before walking towards Mu Omo. Momo Tilda. Mu Baining called out softly, and Mu Omo replied, Are you done with your work? She nodded. Actually, I've been watching your competition from not far away. You won another medal. Are you going to treat me to a meal? Absolutely no problem. Mu Omo patted her chest. What do you want to eat? Actually, you can also have some wine. Mu Baining shook her head. Just kidding, let's eat later. Isn't tomorrow the weekend? Actually. At this point, Mu Baining suddenly became a little shy. Her face immediately turned red. Mu Omo was a little confused. Actually what? Goodness, this little girl is really keeping him in suspense. Actually what? Mu Baining whispered. Actually, I told Dad last time that we've already confirmed our relationship. Momo, you won't be angry, will you? Of course not, Mu Omo said. It's because of pressure from my parents, right? She nodded. So my dad wants me to bring you home so you can have a drink with him. Mu Omo was taken aback upon hearing this. So I'm going to meet my parents already. However, he has already met Mu Changle, so it can't be considered meeting his parents. But Mu Baining's mother must be at home, this. Seeing that Mu Omo's expression was a little unnatural, Mu Baining asked, What's wrong? Is there a problem? No. Mu Omo shook her head. I'm thinking, what gift to bring for Dad? Chapter 138, an exceptionally outrageous mission. What gift should I bring? Hearing this, Mu Baining couldn't help but smile happily. This brat is already thinking about this issue so quickly. Mu Baining thought about it carefully. My dad likes to drink, so there's really no need to prepare any gifts. Just buying some fruit or small presents will do. Mu Omo nodded, and just then the system's voice suddenly came through. Ding, congratulations, host. You are about to meet Mu Baining's parents. At this special moment, please make sure you make a good impression on her parents. Therefore, congratulations to the host for triggering a new mission. Mission, there is a pyramid scheme in room 1212, Building 2, Xingfu Community, Hedong Road. Please cooperate with the police to dismantle this pyramid scheme without Mu Changle's knowledge, and deliver the information to Mu Changlei as a gift. A generous reward will be given upon completion of the mission. At this moment, Mu Ziomo was completely baffled. Huh, what is that? I give the pyramid scheme gang to Mu Changlei as a gift. Are you sure there's no danger to his life? System, there is no danger to their lives. This gang lives in extreme poverty and can only afford one meal a day. Mu Ziomo took a deep breath. This can be considered a contribution to society. But this is just too outrageous. Mo. Mu Baining looked at Mu Ziomo, who was still in a daze and couldn't help but wave her hand in front of him. Mu Ziomo realized what was going on. Oh, okay, then I'll get ready. We're going tomorrow night, right? Mu Baining nodded. My dad gets off work a little late, so we can arrive at 7. As for the gift, I'll go buy it with you tomorrow, okay? Yes. He's currently debating whether or not to complete this task. It shouldn't be too difficult to complete, since the system said it was done with the help of the police. However, this task is absolutely outrageous. This system is so cheeky. Mu Ziomo took a deep breath and thought for a moment. How should the pyramid scheme be handed over to Mu Changlei? We can't exactly suggest bringing these people to Mu Changlei's house. Or I should deliver it to Mu Changlei before he gets off work. That's better. Mu Ziomo and Mu Baining returned to the fork in the road and went back. It wasn't that Mu Baining didn't want to accompany him, but because he had run 5,000 meters, he must have been quite tired, so Mu Baining told him to go back and rest. It was 9:30 p.m. in the hallway of the boys' dormitory. Mu Ziomo took out her phone and searched online for the police station where Mu Changlei worked. She quickly found the phone number of one of the officers. Then I dialed it directly. This matter still needs to be kept confidential by the police officer, and she needs to cooperate. Officer Chen Liniang answered the phone very quickly. Hello, this is Chen Liniang, a member of the 1st Criminal Investigation Brigade of Pudong District. May I ask who you are? It's me, Mu Ziomo. Mu Ziomo said seriously. He knew Chen Liniang. Chen Liniang was present when he received the award for his act of bravery last time. Upon hearing Mu Ziomo's voice, Chen Liniang thought carefully before remembering who Mu Ziomo was. He is a young man who acted bravely and righteously. He recently heard from Captain Mu that he and his daughter have started a relationship, meaning he is Captain Mu's son-in-law. Thinking of this, Chen Liniang chuckled and said, So it's Brother Mu. How did you get my number? Is there something you need? After the sports meet ended and he returned to his dormitory, he specifically looked at the moral map. The window of apartment 1212, in Building 2 of Xingfu residential area, faces a road directly below. There are many shops below, and many pedestrians pass by here. Mu Ziomo had also thought of a reason, and he said, Today I found 100 yuan at the foot of Xingfu community on Hedong Road. Oh. Chen Liniang was clearly surprised when he heard Mu Ziomo's words. He asked, You found 100 yuan, and you're calling me just about this. You can take it to the nearest police station, or you can spend it. No, Mu Ziomo quickly said. There are some words on the money. To put it simply, it means there should be a pyramid scheme group in room 1212 of Building 2. It must be money thrown away by people who were scammed. Upon hearing Mu Ziomo's words, Chen Liniang on the other side frowned deeply. Indeed, such a thing has happened. His expression and tone were particularly serious. Well, do you still have that 100 yuan? Exist. Mu Ziomo's face darkened. To complete the task, I also need to spend 100 yuan. Of course, 100 yuan isn't much for him right now. Chen Liniang, I'm off work now. Let me contact the police officer on duty at the station. Tomorrow is the weekend. Could you come to the station? Sure. Mu Ziomo knew that this matter couldn't be filed as a case so quickly. Instead, he needs to go there in person. Mu Ziomo continued, I have a small request. Could you please not tell your Captain Mu about this? Upon hearing this, Chen Liniang asked, Is there a problem? So Mu Ziomo told Chen Liniang what he was thinking. I said I wanted to give him a special surprise. Chen Liniang was left speechless, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. How could this child's thought process be like this? Mu Ziomo was also feeling bitter. Who could have imagined that the system would play such a trick on him? At the same time, Chen Liniang readily agreed. This kind of case doesn't require the head of the criminal investigation team to personally handle it. As police officers, they've solved far too many cases like this. Once they broke down the door, those people immediately became obedient when they saw Biang pointing at them. So there's absolutely no need to bother Captain Mu. Upon hearing his words, Mu Zyaomo was delighted. Okay, I'll come to see you tomorrow. I wonder if Captain Mu will be at the station. Probably not, Chen Liniang said. There's a case that's quite tricky lately, and Captain Mu will probably be out working on it. That's fine then, Mu Zyaomo said. Then, I'll call you when I arrive tomorrow. Okay, goodbye Zyaomo. Goodbye. Both parties hung up the phone. Mu Zyaomo took a deep breath. Once Mu Changle returned to the police station, she would simply hand the group over to him. He felt it was feasible, so he didn't think much of it. He went into the dormitory, chatted briefly with Mu Baining, added her father to the conversation, and then closed his eyes to sleep. The next morning, Mu Zyaomo packed his bags and ran out while his roommate was still fast asleep. Arriving near the 1st Criminal Investigation Brigade of Pudong District, Mu Zyaomo dialed Chen Liniang's number. Sorry, the number you dialed is busy. Please try again later. Sorry. The call was not answered. A few seconds later, Mu Zyaomo received a text message. It was sent by Chen Liniang. We are in a meeting, please wait a moment. P.S. I'm not sure if this plot is mindless. I'm having writer's block. I suddenly remembered a comment that suggested writing it this way. Thank you everyone for your support. Thank you for the flowers and gifts. Xiaming is so grateful. Chapter 139, Preparing to Close the Net. Mu Zyaomo was not surprised when she saw Chen Liniang's message. Waiting a while wouldn't hurt. He looked around and found a breakfast shop right across from the police station. I touched my belly and heard a gurgling sound. Since I haven't had breakfast, I could easily go get some while Chen Liniang is in a meeting. So Mu Zyaomo went over. This is a shop selling fried dough sticks, soy milk, tofu pudding, and steamed buns. There are 8 tables in the shop, and several migrant workers are eating together at this moment. Upon seeing a customer enter the store, the shop owner turned his attention to Mu Zyaomo. Welcome, what would you like to eat, young man? After glancing at the menu, Mu Zyaomo said, 1 serving of soy milk, 2 fried dough sticks, and a basket of Zaya Longbao, please. Okay, Tilda. Upon hearing Mu Zyaomo's words, the shop owner readily agreed and then said, Young man, please sit down. It will be ready in a few minutes. Okay. After a short wait, the soy milk, fried dough sticks, and steamed buns arrived. Although this food isn't very healthy, many overworked office workers choose to eat it because it's cheap. He took a small sip and found it tasted pretty good. It could also be due to hunger. Without thinking much, Mu Zyaomo quickly started eating. After finishing his meal and paying, as he was leaving the shop, he happened to see Mu Changle leaving the police station. At this time, Mu Changle had 2 other people with him. The 3 of them got into a police car together and then left. At the same time, his phone rang. That's right, it's Chen Liniang. However, Mu Zyaomo did not answer the call, but quickened her pace and ran into the police station. Chen Liniang was still wondering why Mu Zyaomo hadn't answered the phone when he saw him run in, and then he realized what was going on. Oh, so you arrived early. They've arrived really early. At this moment, Chen Liniang was wearing a police uniform, and there were also some police officers working inside. Upon seeing Mu Zyaomo, Chen Liniang asked, You're here so early. Did you bring the 100 yuan you found? Yes, he nodded. I brought it. Mu Zyaomo had already forged a 100 yuan banknote in advance, since it was evidence in this case. He took out the money, and when he spread it out, the words 2-12-12 pyramid scheme were written on it. With just a few simple words, Chen Liniang took the banknote and stared at it with a furrowed brow. He said, Okay, please come with me to the interrogation room so I can take your statement. The process of filing a case is quite complicated, and all the necessary steps must be taken. Then, accompanied by several police officers, Mu Zyaomo made up a reason and gave her statement. After taking the statement, Mu Zyaomo thought they would immediately set out to arrest people in Xingfu community. But Chen Liniang kept him waiting. They waited until noon. That's right, it's time to get off work. By this time, Mu Zyaomo was almost exhausted from waiting, and was even afraid that Mu Changle would suddenly return. Fortunately, Mu Changle did not return. According to Chen Liniang, he took leave after get off work at noon today, probably to prepare for seeing him. It was lunchtime, and Chen Liniang walked over. Mu Zyaomo met his gaze, and Chen Liniang said apologetically, Sorry, Zyaomo, we've been busy this morning. We've already discussed it with the other officers, and we're planning to go over at 3 p.m. to close the net. Okay. Mu Zyaomo took a deep breath, wondering if she would have time to go shopping with Mu Baining. However, he had just told Mu Baining that he had something to do today, and asked her to wait for him. Of course, Mu Baining readily agreed. Everyone has busy times, and she understood Mu Ziomo perfectly. Soon, Chen Liniang took Mu Ziomo to have a meal nearby. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Mu Ziomo said he wanted to go and take a look too. At first, Chen Liniang did not want to take him. After all, going out on a mission involves danger, but considering Mu Ziomo's good skills, Chen Liniang agreed to take him along. 3:30 p.m., outside Xingfu residential area. This is a very new residential area. It seems to have been completed in recent years. The buildings in the community are all 32-story high-rises, making it a very luxurious community in the area, with prices reaching 50,000 to 60,000 yuan per square meter. Chen Liniang got out of the car with 3 plainclothes police officers. Because of the current policy changes, in order to prevent any unforeseen events, 2 of the 4 of them are carrying biu. After all, they only knew that there was a pyramid scheme group on 1212, but they didn't know how many people were in it. If you rush in rashly, you can use it for self-defense if there is any danger. After entering the residential compound, the 5 of them first went to the compound's property management office. After explaining their purpose, the property management staff were very cooperative. 1212 is the west-facing unit on the 21st floor of Unit 1 in Building 2. According to the property management, this apartment was rented out within the last 2 weeks. The person renting the house was a young man in his 30s. Of course, renting a house is perfectly normal, and the property management company didn't know much about it. Upon learning that the rental was for a pyramid scheme, the property management of the community directly brought over the floor plan of the house. 1212 is an area of 120 square meters, which is not a small area. Having learned about the house's layout, Chen Liniang was ready to close the net. 21 floors, which is a bit high, but that's actually a good thing. At least if someone tries to escape later, it won't be so easy. If someone wants to jump out of a window, if they're not afraid of being smashed to pieces, they can jump. Ziomo, when we go in later, you wait outside and keep an eye on the door. Chen Liniang spoke up, saying that he allowed Mu Ziomo to go upstairs with them. But I just wanted him to block the doorway. Firstly, we were worried about something happening inside, so that he wouldn't be accidentally injured. Secondly, have him guard the door. If anyone manages to escape, given his skills, taking down a few people shouldn't be a problem. Upon hearing this, Mu Ziomo nodded and said, "Don't worry, I'll keep watch at the door for you." Nodding, the 5 of them, along with 2 security guards from the community, followed them into the elevator of Unit 1 of Building 2. No one spoke in the elevator. The atmosphere was rather oppressive. This is normal, after all. They don't know what kind of danger awaits them. Ding, we've reached the 21st floor. The elevator's voice announcement sounded, and the elevator doors slowly opened. After stepping out of the elevator, everyone's attention immediately fell on the door number 1212. Chen Liniang glanced at the other 3 policemen, made a gesture that Mu Ziomo couldn't understand, and then leaned against the wall. Mu Ziomo waited quietly at a corner. At the door, the police did not break down the door directly, but knocked gently. Knock, knock, knock. Hello, is anyone home? The property management is coming to check. Perhaps the person inside was cautious, because they knocked on the door for several minutes without receiving a response. Pyramid scheme members are particularly cunning. There can't be no one in the room. There are at least a few victims who have been deceived and a few people guarding them. Seeing that no one responded, Chen Liniang gave a wink to one of the security guards. The security guard quickly brought over a spare key. Because the house was rented out through the property management company, they kept a spare key. Snap! The door is already open. At the same time, the 6 people rushed forward and then charged inside. Chapter 140, what kind of primordial force is this? It kicked a person 5 or 6 meters away. Mu Ziomo did not follow their pace, but stayed at the corner of the corridor. When Chen Liniang and the others entered the room, they were stunned by the scene before them. Because there was a particularly unpleasant smell in the living room, like a very cheap perfume. The living room also had many computers, and the table was covered with various items, including ashtrays, mineral water bottles, and some kind of black liquid. In short, it was a messy and dirty place. Even more surprisingly, there were many food bowls placed on the ground in the corner for eating. The contents of the basin were unidentifiable, but they resembled excrement. There was no one in the living room, and the bedroom doors were all tightly closed. Seeing the scene before him, Chen Liniang was certain that this was a hideout for a pyramid scheme. Upon realizing this, he immediately became more cautious. Chen Liniang looked around the 3 bedrooms, then said to one of the policemen, "Go check the rooms and be careful." "Yes, don't worry, Captain." After receiving Chen Liniang's order, 2 police officers and 2 security guards came to the master bedroom door. I gently turned the doorknob and found that the bedroom door had been locked from the inside. This further confirms that there are people inside. "Move aside," a policeman said in a low voice, took a few steps back, and then kicked the door hard. Banged. Because the door was of poor quality, it was blasted open with a loud bang after a series of loud noises. At the same time, 2 figures came into his view. They had injuries of varying degrees, their mouths were stuffed full of something, and they were huddled in a corner, bound hand and foot. Upon closer inspection, it was discovered that they were still wearing many chains. That fits the current stereotype of a victim of pyramid schemes. Victims lured into pyramid schemes typically suffer various forms of abuse, bearing numerous injuries, and are force-fed various drugs, or the contents of the basin outside. At this moment, one of them had already fainted, and the other was somewhat disoriented. Just as the 2 police officers were about to go inside, a man wielding a sharp knife suddenly rushed out from the doorway. The man was tall and thin, with tattoos on his arms. After rushing out, he stabbed at the person closest to him. His hands were trembling slightly, and he looked particularly nervous. "Don't move." Seeing this, a policeman quickly drew his black gun, pointed it at him, and said, "Put down the knife." The tattooed man was startled. He suddenly stopped what he was doing, and when he saw the black gun barrel pointed at him, he swallowed hard. Upon seeing this, the police officer closest to him delivered a flying kick, knocking the knife out of his hand. At the same time, 2 security guards rushed forward and pinned him to the ground. The policeman quickly pulled out handcuffs and went to cuff them. The same was true in the other bedroom. There are quite a few people in this room, 4 in total. 2 of the victims and 2 members of the pyramid scheme were among them. "Do not move." Upon seeing the person, Chen Liniang immediately became alert. At the same time, when the 2 people saw someone break in, they nervously shrank into the corner and did not resist. "Squat down and put your hands behind your head." Chen Liniang's tone was particularly serious. After hearing this, the 2 men knew they couldn't escape and had no choice but to obediently comply. Meanwhile, a head popped out from the balcony. He had 2 knife scars on his face and dark skin. The scarred man glanced at the doors to the 2 rooms. His 3 accomplices had already been subdued, and he was now in a panic. But right now, it seems no one has discovered him yet. So the scarred man gritted his teeth and sprinted towards the door. Chen Liniang and another police officer in the 2nd bedroom were both controlling 2 suspects and had no time to pay attention to what was happening outside. "There's someone else," a security guard shouted upon hearing the commotion. By then, the scarred man had already rushed to the door. A slight smile appeared on his lips. He knew he could escape today. "Idiot!" Just as he uttered a phrase about national essence, a huge fist suddenly reached out from the doorway. It hit him squarely on the bridge of his nose. Banged. Suddenly, the scarred man felt dizzy and disoriented, and almost fell over. Crimson blood flowed down his nose. He shook his head and noticed there was another person in front of him. "That's right, it's Musayomo." He stared at him expressionlessly. "Damn it." Banged. Before he could finish his lines, Musayomo kicked him away. His body arched backward until he crashed into the computer desk in the bedroom. Then her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Musayomo took a deep breath and stared at the unconscious scarred man, momentarily stunned. "This guy in front of me is too weak. He only used about 50% of his strength." Just as Chen Liniang was about to make his move, he saw what was happening before him and was extremely shocked. Some sign, letter FF9F, de letter FF9F, Japanese letter, holy crap. What kind of primordial power is this? Did he kick someone 5 or 6 meters away? He even fainted. At that moment, he recalled the time when Musayomo had directly smashed the suspect's testicles last time, and he suddenly felt a chill down below. Musayomo slowly walked into the room, her brows furrowing slightly as she went in. The stuff in the basin, could it be human excrement? Ugh tilde. Musayomo suddenly felt uncomfortable. Chen Liniang then came over, took the handcuffs and handcuffed the last scarred man. Chen Liniang said, "Zio Liu, Zio-san, check the other rooms again." "Yes." The police officers, referred to as Zio Liu and Zio-san, nodded and opened the door to the 3rd bedroom. Sure enough, there were 2 other victims and 1 pyramid scheme member inside. However, he didn't struggle much and surrendered without resistance. Chen Liniang quickly cleaned up the scene. In this case, a total of 5 people involved in pyramid schemes were arrested, and 6 victims were apprehended. There are 10 mobile phones, but as for anything else usable, there really isn't any. As for the victims, 3 of them remained unconscious due to the severity of their injuries. There was no other way. Chen Liniang had to call 120 to send these people to the hospital first, and then slowly investigate the case. Chapter 141, I don't know what kind of gift you like, so I'll just grab a pyramid scheme member and give him to you. About 20 minutes later, several ambulances with sirens blaring stopped downstairs in the Xingfu residential area. Medical staff quickly carried the stretcher upstairs in the elevator. Meanwhile, downstairs, at the entrance of the residential complex, Mu Baining and Mu Changlei walked side by side, preparing to enter the residential area. Both of them were puzzled when they saw several ambulances parked inside the residential area. Out of professional instinct, Mu Changlei couldn't help but take a few more glances. 5 or 6 ambulances arrived at the same time. What happened in the neighborhood? He's a resident of this community. Since so many ambulances suddenly arrived, something must have happened. At this time, many residents of the community, especially the elderly, had become bystanders. They said all sorts of things, like domestic violence or gas leaks, which were all pretty outrageous. Mu Baining was a little confused by what she saw. She looked at her father and asked, "Dad, what happened?" etc. At this moment, Mu Changlei suddenly noticed that Chen Liniang's car was parked not far from the entrance of the residential area. The police have been dispatched, or have they come to, his neighborhood? Thinking about this had already piqued his curiosity. Why don't the main police officers inform me before going on duty? Noticing that his father's expression was off, Mu Baining asked, "What's wrong, Dad? What did you see?" Mu Baining followed Mu Changlei's gaze, but didn't find anything. Mu Changlei did not. "Ning, wait a moment. I'll go check what's going on." With that, Mu Changlei went directly into the community's property management office. Seeing this, Mu Baining quickly followed. The people in the property management company knew that Mu Changlei was the captain of the criminal investigation team. After a brief inquiry, Mu Changlei learned that they were there to arrest people involved in pyramid schemes. After asking for the floor number, Mu Changlei rushed out in a hurry. At the same time, several medical staff members carried the unconscious victim out on a stretcher. Seeing Mu Changlei rush out in a hurry, completely ignoring her, Mu Baining couldn't help but ask, "Hey, Dad, where are you going?" "I'm going upstairs for a bit. Ning, wait for me here." Mu Baining was completely confused at this moment. She quickly followed her father and entered Unit 1 of Building 2 together. The elevator was descending from the 14th floor and arrived at the first floor a moment later. Several medical staff were still carrying a stretcher, on which lay a woman covered in injuries and unconscious. Her skin was dark, her lips were very dry, and she had a faint odor. Upon seeing this, Mu Baining couldn't help but take 2 steps back, covering her mouth with a look of lingering fear. Of course, this was nothing new to Mu Changlei. I've seen all sorts of situations when handling cases. The medical staff didn't recognize them and simply walked past them. Mu Changlei didn't ask any questions and went straight into the elevator. Mu Baining followed her inside, and Mu Changlei, seeing this, said, "Daughter, you shouldn't come up with me." "No," Mu Baining shook her head. "It's okay, Dad, I won't hold you back." Well, by this time, medical staff had already come out, and the matter should have been resolved. So, without thinking much about it, Mu Changlei pressed the button for the 21st floor and then pressed the button to turn off the elevator. He just wanted to see what was going on. Generally speaking, the Bureau will report any cases to him. What's going on today? Just as Mu Changlei was wondering, the elevator had already reached the 21st floor. "Ding, we've reached the 21st floor." After the voice announcement finished, the elevator doors slowly opened. Just as the elevator doors opened, Mu Xiaomo happened to be standing at the door. Then he and Mu Changlei locked eyes. Mu Xiaomo, Mu Changlei, Mu Bainings, Chen Liniang. All 4 of them looked completely bewildered. Holy crap, what's going on? Mu Xiaomo glanced at Mu Changlei and Mu Baining. Mu Baining also frowned. What's Mu Xiaomo doing here? When he said he was busy, he meant. Mu Xiaomo quickly said, Uncle. Captain, what brings you here? Chen Liniang came closer and Mu Changlei's face darkened. What was all this about? How did Mu Xiaomo end up with Chen Liniang? He glanced behind Mu Xiaomo and saw 5 people, wearing black hoods and handcuffs, squatting there in a neat row. The other 2 officers were from his department. Mu Changlei said, I should be asking you about this. Why didn't you tell me about such a big incident as responding to a police call? And what are you doing here, Zaiomo? For some reason, Mu Zaiomo blurted out this sentence. Uncle, I came to visit you today, but I didn't know what kind of gift you would like, so I caught a member of a pyramid scheme as a gift for you. Mu Changle, what is that? Sending a pyramid scheme group as a gift. Goodness, he's lived so long. What kind of gifts hasn't he seen? This gift is just outrageous. Is this some kind of job for him? Because there were police officers around, Mu Changle laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, Zairo, you're really good at joking." Then he turned his gaze to Chen Liniang. "Zio Chen, how's this case going?" "No problem, Captain." Chen Liniang hadn't expected Mu Changle to come so suddenly. He said, "This case was solved by Zairo. After our investigation, we found that there was indeed a pyramid scheme group hiding here, so we came to take them down. As for why I didn't notify you," Chen Liniang turned to look at Mu Zaiomo and continued, "That's right, Zaiomo said she wanted to give you a special surprise." Mu Changle was speechless. This surprise was indeed quite special. At this time, the 3 unconscious victims had already been taken away by ambulance. The other 3 people were conscious, but they had suffered far too much torture here. They have developed serious mental health issues. What we need to do now is get them to the hospital and then see if we can contact their families. Pyramid schemes are harmful to both the perpetrators and others. Many families have had their lives ruined by being misled into pyramid schemes. A moment later, the police escorted the 5 prisoners downstairs. A large police car arrived quickly and took the 5 people inside. "Let's go, I'll go with you." Mu Changle's expression was full of helplessness. "I took an afternoon off, and then this happened." Upon hearing this, Chen Liniang shook his head and said, "Captain, you don't need to come with us. Since our son-in-law is here, it's more important to spend time with him." "Fine." Mu Changle shook his head. "I'll go with you to take a look. I still have a document over there that I haven't picked up yet. I'll be back in a bit." After hearing his words, Chen Liniang naturally didn't say anything more. Meanwhile, Mu Changle turned his attention to Mu Zaiomo and his daughter. "Daughter, just take Zaiomo home. I have some things to take care of at the bureau. I'll be right back." "Okay, Tilda." Mu Baining nodded, linking her arm with Mu Zaiomo's. Mu Changle continued to instruct, "Absolutely do not buy anything. Absolutely do not buy anything, understand?" Chapter 142, How about it, Momo? My mom is easy to talk to, right? Soon, Mu Changle got into Chen Liniang's car. Mu Baining held Mu Zaiomo's arm until the car was out of sight, then rolled her eyes and said, "Momo, the gift you gave to my dad is really special. It's unusual. He's always busy with work." Upon hearing this, Mu Zaiomo was taken aback. He genuinely didn't know what to say and asked in return, "I'm a little confused right now. Why did you and Dad suddenly come here?" Mu Baining turned her head and looked at the sign for Xingfu residential area. "My home is right here." Mu Zaiomo was taken aback. "Goodness, Mu Baining's home is located here. What a coincidence." Mu Baining asked, "Tell me quickly what exactly happened." "I just heard from Brother Yang that you provided the lead for this case." Mu Zaiomo nodded. "Let's go buy some gifts for Mom first. I'll tell you on the way." Okay." Mu Baining nodded without giving it much thought. The 2 of them then entered the Huasheng supermarket at the entrance of the residential area. Mu Zaiomo simply used the reason she had fabricated earlier. They said they found 100 yuan downstairs with something about pyramid schemes written on it. Of course, Mu Baining believed it. The 2 went into Huasheng supermarket and bought some gifts for Mu Baining's parents. Donga Yi Jiao, a type of traditional Chinese medicine, a massage device. Because Mu Changle likes to smoke and drink, Mu Zaiomo directly bought him 2 cartons of Huazi cigarettes and 2 bottles of Maodai. Although Mu Baining kept saying there was no need to buy it, Mu Zaiomo didn't listen to her at all. As a man, you need to be decisive. After shopping for more than half an hour, the 2 of them left the supermarket with bags full of purchases. Mu Zaiomo just asked about the location of Mu Baining's house. In room 2152 of Building 6. That is the west-facing unit on the 12th floor of Building 6, Unit 2. This location is great, and the property prices are very high. Turns out Mu Baining is quite wealthy. Without much thought, Mu Baining quickly led Mu Zaiomo up to Building 6. After all, it was his first time meeting his future mother-in-law, so it would be a lie to say he wasn't nervous. Ding, we've reached the 15th floor. The elevator door slowly opened, and Mu Baining, arm in arm with Mu Ziomo, left the elevator. Seeing Mu Ziomo's somewhat nervous expression, Mu Baining couldn't help but laugh and ask, "What's wrong? Are you nervous about meeting my mother soon?" "A little." Mu Ziomo didn't hide anything. Anyone would be nervous in that situation. Hatilda, Mu Baining exclaimed. "Don't worry, my mom is very easy to talk to. She's very warm and welcoming, so there's no need to be nervous." He was naturally thick-skinned and had a social butterfly effect, so he had no problem communicating with people. Knock, knock, knock. Mu Baining knocked on the door. "Here I am." Inside the house, the voice of Mu Baining's mother, Lee Kingru, could be heard. Of course, she knew that Ningning would be bringing her boyfriend to visit her home today. Previously, she had been looking for people to introduce Mu Baining to potential partners, but this time she brought her boyfriend home directly. Time really flies. She also wants to become a grandmother soon and hold her child. Actually, no matter what kind of man he is, as long as Ningning likes him, the two of them can live a peaceful and stable life together. Snap! The door was pushed open. Lee Kingru, wearing an apron and black trousers, appeared before Mu Ziomo. She looked very kind and approachable, and was 170 cm tall, about the same height as Mu Baining. She has very few wrinkles on her face, which is unusual considering she's around 50 years old. But she looks to be only about 40 years old. Her skin is incredibly smooth. She takes really good care of it. When Lee Kingru pushed open the door and saw Mu Ziomo, she was also startled. Previously, she had asked Mu Baining to send her photos of Mu Ziomo. However, Mu Baining directly rejected him, telling him to wait and see when they met. Having met him in person, I must say, this young man is truly handsome. So handsome. At this moment, Mu Ziomo had a faint smile on his face. When he saw Lee Kingru, he quickly bowed and said, "Hello, Auntie. I am Ningning's boyfriend, Mu Ziomo." Upon hearing this, Lee Kingru was overjoyed. The young man is not only handsome, but also very polite. He's really great. All right, come in quickly, come in quickly." Lee Kingru quickly took the gift from Mu Ziomo's hand and said, "Ziomo, you've already come all this way. Why did you bring a gift? You've gone to so much trouble." "Auntie, this is what I should do. There's no need to worry about it costing you anything." He spoke quite politely, and Lee Kingru did not refuse again. After entering, she led Mu Ziomo and Mu Baining directly to the sofa in the living room. "Ziomo, please sit down. Oh dear, the house is a bit messy. I hope you don't mind." "It's nothing, Tilda." At this moment, Mu Ziomo had already looked Mu Baining's house up and down. This is a 4-bedroom, 2-living-room layout. The living room and dining room are particularly large. After taking a closer look, Mu Ziomo felt that the house was more than 200 square meters. Based on the average price of 50,000 to 60,000 yuan per square meter in Shanghai, this apartment would cost 12 million. When Mu Ziomo thought of this, she was somewhat surprised. If Mu Baining can afford a house costing over 1,000, then her family must have assets worth tens of millions. After thinking about it carefully, I realized that although his family was well off, I didn't know if they were as wealthy as Mu Baining's family. That's fine too, it's a good match. At this moment, Lee Kingru had already poured water for Mu Ziomo. She asked, "Ningning, aren't you with your dad? Where is he?" "Oh, my dad had to go back to the police station because of something urgent. He said he'll be back soon." Lee Kingru didn't think much of what Mu Baining said. She couldn't help but glance at Mu Ziomo again, and then said, "Well, Ziomo, you can chat with my daughter here for a bit, have some sunflower seeds and bananas, or watch TV. I'll go to the kitchen to cook for you." "Well," upon hearing this, Mu Ziomo smiled and said, "Auntie, my cooking skills are not bad either. Why don't you let me cook today's meal? It'll be a good opportunity for you to try my cooking." "No, no, no." Hearing Mu Ziomo's words, Lee Kingru shook her head repeatedly. "You're a guest, how can I let you cook? Ningning, you chat with Ziomo for a while, I'll go cook first." "Okay, Tilda." Hearing her mother's words, Mu Baining nodded with a grin. Soon, Lee Kingru entered the kitchen and got busy. At the same time, Mu Baining asked, "How is it, Momo? My mom is very easy to talk to, isn't she?" "P.S. Please give me some flowers and a 5-star review. I'll be eternally grateful." Chapter 143, Darling, I'm here to help you. "Yes, your aunt is very easy to talk to, just like your dad," Mu Ziomo said with a smile, glancing at Lee Kingru, who was busy in the kitchen. Actually, getting past the parents is extremely important. In this society, marriages that parents don't approve of are really difficult. Because of parental disapproval, there are countless couples who commit suicide by jumping into rivers. Mu Ziomo, remember seeing several news articles like this every now and then. Upon hearing Mu Xiaomo's words, Mu Baining was as happy as a little rabbit. Actually, she wasn't too worried, since her father had probably already mentioned Xiaomo to her mother. At home, I often praise Mu Xiaomo. She continued, that's good, that's good. Would you like some fruit? I'll get you a banana. Oh, and there are strawberries in the fridge. Okay, Tilda. Mu Xiaomo didn't think much of it. Upon hearing this, Mu Baining got up and walked to the refrigerator, then took out a small basket of strawberries, a few bananas, and 2 bottles of Levitra. Since it was Mu Xiaomo's first time visiting her home, Mu Baining sat beside him and chatted with him. A dozen minutes later, Mu Xiaomo was watching TV and chatting with Mu Baining. Just then, a hissing sound suddenly came from the kitchen. Although the sound wasn't very loud, Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baining heard it exceptionally clearly. What's wrong? Both of them were a little confused, so they quickly stood up and went into the kitchen together. In the kitchen, Li Qingru pressed her fingers, and a small amount of bloodstains could still be seen on the cutting board. Mu Baining and Mu Xiaomo's expressions immediately turned sour upon seeing this. The 2 women rushed over and Mu Baining asked, Mom, what happened? Are you hurt? It was obvious that Li Qingru had accidentally cut her hand while chopping vegetables. She felt a little guilty. When had something like this ever happened while she was cooking? Today, she finally had guests over and this had to happen. Li Qingru shook her head slightly. She knew the wound wasn't deep, but since her daughter had seen it, she probably wouldn't be able to cook dinner tonight. Are you all right, Auntie? Mu Xiaomo peered over to examine the wound. The bleeding wasn't excessive, and the wound was much smaller than the one Mu Baining had been injured in during the last class. Mu Baining didn't know the size of the wound yet, and her pupils contracted. Mom, how could you be so careless? Should we go to the hospital? Li Qingru was taken aback. Silly child, why go to the hospital? It's just a minor injury, it's not like your hand was chopped off. Oh dear, Mom, what nonsense are you talking about? Mu Baining loves her mother very much. It would be strange for a daughter not to feel heartbroken to see her mother injured. Ning Ning, do you have a first aid kit at home? This wasn't the time to stand idly by. Hearing Mu Xiaomo's words, Mu Baining quickly replied, It's in the first bedroom facing south on the bookshelf in my room. I'll go get it. Without further ado, Mu Xiaomo quickly left the kitchen and arrived at the first south-facing bedroom that Mu Baining had mentioned. As soon as he pushed open the door, a faint fragrance wafted into his nostrils. The fragrance was almost identical to her natural body scent. The room was quite large, over 20 square meters. There is a 1.8 x 2.2-meter bed, a large wardrobe, a desk, a bookshelf, and even a treadmill against the wall. It seems she used to exercise at home quite often. No wonder she has such a great figure. Upon closer inspection, I noticed a photograph on the bedside table. The photo shows her with onesie. This onesie is exactly the same as the one he gave her, except that she is a little younger. It seems she really likes this cat. At this moment, Mu Xiaomo realized she had been thinking too much and quickly came back to her senses. Looking up slightly, I saw a yellow medicine box in one of the shelves. The first aid kit was delivered by the recently popular Ugly Group delivery service. It seems he also has one at home. After getting the first aid kit, Mu Xiaomo quickly went outside. Mu Baining had already brought her mother to the living room and had her sit on the sofa. He quickly went over and opened the medicine box. The first aid kit contained some cold medicine, bandages, and hydrogen peroxide. Just as Mu Baining was about to bandage her mother's wound, Mu Xiaomo shook her head. I'll do it. Zum. Seeing this, Mu Baining did not refuse. At this point, giving this younger brother a chance to shine wouldn't be a bad idea. Be careful, my mom is very afraid of pain. Mu Baining gave a brief instruction while Li Qingru said, Oh, it's you, Ning Ning. What's going on? Thank you so much. It's all right, Auntie, it's nothing. But you must be careful when you're cooking. I know. As she watched Mu Xiaomo carefully treat her wound, a warm feeling flowed through her heart. You can tell what kind of person Mu Xiaomo is just by looking at his current attitude towards things. Anyway, since Mu Xiaomo personally bandaged her wound, her affection for him has increased considerably. The wound on Li Qingru's finger wasn't deep. After a simple disinfection and application of some anti-inflammatory medicine, Mu Xiaomo bandaged it up with gauze. This way of bandaging is tighter and much more effective than a band-aid. Okay, Auntie, the wound is very small and will heal in 2 or 3 days. After putting everything into the first aid kit, Li Qingru said, Oh dear, look how clumsy I am. I'm so sorry to have troubled you, Xiaomo. You can continue chatting with Ningning and I'll continue cooking. She finished speaking and was about to go back to the kitchen when Mu Baining grabbed her. Forget it, Mom, you don't need to cook today. I'm a pretty good cook, I'll do it. Mu Ziomo, let me do it. Auntie will tell you. I cooked a few meals for Ningning at school. She usually can only eat 1 bowl of rice, but now she can eat 3 bowls. Mu Bainings? That's nonsense. Really? Li Qingru chuckled and turned her gaze to Mu Baining. I usually complain that this girl doesn't eat enough. If Ningning goes with you from now on, she'll be able to eat more. Don't worry, Auntie, there's absolutely no problem. He turned his gaze to Mu Baining. In that case, Ningning, you can chat with your mother for a while. Wait a little while, I'll go cook. After saying that, Mu Ziomo turned and left without looking back. Mu Baining was taken aback this. Before she could react, Li Qingru beside her scolded, Ningning, hurry up and go help in the kitchen. We can't let a guest cook by himself. Oh, okay. Mu Baining nodded and instructed, Mom, you can rest in the living room for a while. I'll go help Momo. Go ahead, Tilda. Li Qingru waved her hand. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Mu Zioom glanced at the dishes on the table. There is chicken, pork, Qingjiang fish, lobster, and various vegetables. In short, it was exceptionally plentiful. Moreover, there is a great abundance of seasonings at home. Now it's time to show off my skills. He chuckled, and at the same time, Mu Baining suddenly ran in from behind and said, Darling, I'm here to help you. Chapter 144, Mu Baining doesn't drink alcohol. Upon hearing this, Mu Ziomo turned her head curiously. It gave me a perfect view of her delicate profile. Why aren't you with Mom? Upon hearing our mother, Mu Baining was taken aback, her expression turning somewhat shy. He was speaking quite loudly. Mom probably didn't hear him. She said softly, She's resting outside, it's all right. Let's cook together. At this point, Mu Baining's expression was full of apology. I'm sorry, Momo, you're a guest today, and I'm making you cook for me. Fine. Mu Ziomo shook her head. It just so happens that I also want my uncle and aunt to try my cooking. However, in order to make up for it, you have to agree to one condition. What are the conditions? Hearing his words, Mu Baining curiously raised her head. She can agree to any condition as long as it's not too unreasonable. Mu Ziomo smiled and said, Come home with me this Chinese New Year. You Japanese letter, you. Upon hearing this, Mu Baining was taken aback. Now that things have come to this, she has no reason to refuse Mu Ziomo. Perfect timing. She also wanted to know what kind of people Mu Ziomo's parents were. Ziomo has already met her parents at her home, so it's safe to say that their relationship is becoming increasingly stable. Meeting his parents is perfectly fine. She shrugged, I promise you. Good girl, Tilda. Mu Ziomo gently kissed her cheek. He has already made plans to take Mu Baining to his home for the Chinese New Year this year. Introduce her to her parents and grandparents. Of course, there were also elderly men and women. The elderly couple are almost 100 years old, but they are still in good health. She has no illnesses, and even said she's waiting for him to get married and have a great-grandchild. In fact, Mu Ziomo also hopes to have 5 generations living under one roof. Soon, the two of them started cooking. Of course, the dishes he cooked were all of Mu Ziomo's specialties, such as grilled fish and pork tenderloin. These are all foods that Mu Baining likes to eat. An hour and a half later, Mu Ziomo and Mu Baining had prepared 5 dishes, a soup, and a grilled fish. After the grilled fish was cooked, Mu Baining couldn't help but step forward and take a deep breath. It tastes just like before. Seeing this, Li Qingru also came to the kitchen to help carry the bowls, and then placed them on the dining table. She was somewhat surprised to see that Mu Ziomo had prepared so many dishes. In today's society, there are very few people who can cook, especially boys. He was somewhat shocked that Mu Ziomo had made so many dishes, and that they looked so good. Just then, the door clicked open. That's right, it's Mu Changle. He was dressed in a black casual outfit, and as he entered, a faint aroma of food lingered around him. Seeing the various delicacies laid out on the table, he couldn't help but exclaim, Wow, dinner is so sumptuous tonight. There's also a grilled fish. Honey, when did you learn how to grill fish? Mu Changle was somewhat surprised when he saw it. Did his wife usually cook such delicious meals? Dad, you're back. It's often said that daughters are their father's little cotton-padded jackets, and Mu Baining is a perfect example of that. When she saw Mu Changle return, she ran to his side excitedly, helped him take off his coat, and hung it on the entryway cabinet. I'm back, Tilda. He turned his gaze to Mu Ziomo. Ziomo, the gift you gave me today. It really kept me busy. He chuckled and scratched his head. Isn't this just helping Uncle boost his sales? Never mind, Tilda, he waved his hand. Ningning's boyfriend is here today, so let's not talk about work. Mu Baining, that's right. Dad, hurry up and wash your hands and eat. Try the food that Momo made and see if it's delicious. Zumb. Upon hearing this, Mu Changle was immediately puzzled. He couldn't help but ask, Momo, did you cook this? He turned his head and glanced at Lee Kingru again. His eyes were full of questions. Mu Baining said, yes, Mom accidentally hurt her hand while cooking, so Momo didn't let her continue cooking. He always wanted you and Mom to try his cooking, so this is a good thing. Ho, not bad, not bad. Mu Changle's favorability towards Mu Zia increased by 999. Mu Changle quickly washed his hands, then returned to his bedroom and took out a bottle of Dream Blue. The two of us had drinks last time, but not a lot. Mu Zia alcohol tolerance is quite good. This time, Mu Changle was prepared to drink himself into oblivion with him. Zia, you have to have a drink with your uncle this time. After they sat down, Mu Baining opened the bottle and poured him a full glass of wine. In fact, Mu Zia had already prepared herself to drink with her father-in-law today. When people come to my house for a meal, isn't it just about drinking? Okay, Mu Zia glanced at Mu Baining sitting next to him. Uncle, won't you let Ningning have a drink with us? Upon hearing this, Mu Changle waved his hand and said, she doesn't drink alcohol, she can't. Goodness, Mu Baining can't drink alcohol. You know, back when school started, he was drugged by Mu Baining and taken to a cheap hotel by her. Just then, Mu Zia felt a sharp pain in her thigh. That's right, it was Mu Baining who twisted it. It has to be said, it really hurts when a girl twists her leg. His Tilda. He couldn't help but tremble, and at the same time, Mu Baining gave him a fierce glare. That look in her eyes was particularly fierce, as if Mu Zia owed her 2 million. Of course, Mu Zia planned to be a little mischievous, so how could she possibly reveal that she had been drinking? Just then, Mu Changle raised his glass. Come on, Zia, let's have a drink first. He's in a particularly good mood today. He was genuinely happy that his daughter had found such a great boyfriend. Mu Zia quickly picked up his wine glass and clinked it with Mu Changle's. Of course, when they clinked glasses, the rim of his glass was much lower than the rim of Mu Changle's glass. This is the etiquette of drinking at the table. When clinking glasses, if your rim is lower than the other person's, it means that the other person is of a higher status than you. This is a very important detail. Of course, Mu Changle also noticed this scene at this moment. He thought Mu Zia wouldn't understand, but seeing this scene, he was honestly quite surprised. This child is so sensible, it's really something. After drinking a glass of wine, Mu Zia felt nothing. Since drinking the body-strengthening potion, his alcohol tolerance has improved. At this moment, he spoke up. Uncle Aunt, please try the dishes I made. P.S. Tomorrow is Xiaming's 22nd birthday, Saturday, June 18th, so I'm taking a day off to rest during the day and go out for dinner in the evening. Dear readers, please do not send gifts, please do not send gifts. But I'd love to receive flowers and support this cause for free. Xiaming loves you all, moi. Japanese letter 3, Japanese letter. Chapter 145, Father-in-Law. Tonight you'll sleep with Ningning in your arms. I still want to hold my grandson. Ha ha ha, good, good, good. Seeing Mu Zia so decisively down her glass of wine, Mu Changle was in a particularly good mood. What do you call that? That's called being sensible. Meanwhile, Mu Baining, who was beside Mu Zia was somewhat worried. She knew Mu Zia wasn't a good drinker. Otherwise, she wouldn't have got her drunk and lured her to a small hotel. That embarrassing thing happened. At this moment, Mu Baining was even worried that Mu Zia would just pass out drunk. It would be too embarrassing if she got drunk here. But Mu Changle didn't think so. Since they've known each other for a long time, it's perfectly normal for them to have a few drinks together. Even if he gets drunk, it wouldn't be a problem to let Mu Zia stay here. Mu Baining quickly poured Mu Zia a glass of water. Momo, drink less alcohol. Drinking is bad for your health. Drink more water and don't drink like my dad. He nodded slightly, and at the same time Mu Changle said, Momo has come all this way. What's wrong with having a little drink? Don't worry, daughter, she won't drink too much. Mu Baining was speechless, because her dad always says he won't drink too much. And every time he drinks with people, he gets completely drunk. It has always been like this since she can remember. At this moment, Mu Zia who was next to her, said, Don't worry, Ningning, you won't drink too much. Mu Baining could only nod helplessly. She felt embarrassed to continue trying to persuade her father, so Mu Zia spoke up. Uncle, you should drink less alcohol and try the dishes that Ning Ning and I cooked. Okay, sure, Tilda. Mu Changle nodded. He had said so much, but he hadn't even tasted Mu Xiaomo's cooking yet. Mu Baining likes to eat fish, and so does Mu Changle. Looking at the glossy fish meat, he couldn't resist picking up his chopsticks and taking a piece of tender white fish. It looks exceptionally good. He even feels it's more visually appealing than some dishes made in stores. I just don't know how it tastes. Without thinking twice, he stuffed the fish into his mouth. Mu Baining knew that Mu Xiaomo's cooking was exceptionally delicious, and she was especially looking forward to her father's evaluation. Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baining both focused their attention on Mu Changle. After tasting the fish, Mu Changle was stunned. Oh, this taste. At this moment, Mu Changle's expression was exactly the same as when Mu Baining ate the fish he had prepared. They were so surprised they couldn't even speak. Seeing this, Mu Xiaomo chuckled. Ning Ning, you had the same expression as your uncle when you ate the fish. Really? Mu Baining indicated that she had no idea. Mu Xiaomo replied, yes. Seeing that Mu Changle remained silent, he chuckled and said, Uncle, how is it? It tastes good, right? It's really good. Mu Changle swallowed the fish meat hard, then couldn't help but ask, your family doesn't own a restaurant, do you? That's true. At the dinner table, one can chat freely, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to let Mu Changle and Li Qingru learn about his family's situation. Anyway, he felt that Mu Baining was the one he would marry for the rest of his life. Since he hadn't told Mu Baining about his family situation before, this was a good opportunity for her to learn more. Mu Xiaomo first focused her attention on Li Qingru. Auntie, you eat first too. Okay, Momo, you don't need to worry about Auntie. Li Qingru nodded repeatedly, while Mu Xiaomo said, my dad said, when he was my age, my grandparents ran a grilled fish restaurant, and that restaurant has been around for more than 20 years now. Well, Mu Changle suddenly realized. No wonder it tastes so good. It turns out it has a history of over 20 years. Mu Xiaomo continued. If there's a chance, I can take Ning Ning and the two of you to Jiangbei so you can personally sample the food at the restaurant. My dad's cooking tastes much better than mine. Upon hearing this, Mu Changle nodded. Okay, I'll definitely go and try it when I have time. Mu Changle didn't care much about Mu Xiaomo's family background. As long as you treat Ning Ning well enough, that's fine. Besides, it's really impressive to be able to keep a restaurant open for more than 20 years. At this moment, Mu Changle asked, by the way, where in Jiangbei are you from? Xinhai, the provincial capital. Mu Xiaomo said calmly, I also have a younger sister at home. Ning Ning has already met her. She studies at Tsinghua or Peking University and has good grades. Mu Xiaoxi can be said to be one of his prides. The admission scores for Tsinghua and Peking universities are extremely high now. There are very few people in the entire Jiangbei province who can get into either of them. Mu Changle's sister is she, a boy and a girl? Right. Mu Xiaomo nodded. At this moment, Mu Baining said, Dad, why didn't you have a younger brother back then? You have no idea how boring it was for me to grow up like this. You'll have to ask your mom. They didn't dwell on the issue. Mu Changle poured some wine and suddenly raised his glass. Come on, Xiaomo, you made such a delicious meal for your uncle. I'll toast you. I'll drink it all, you can drink as you please. Mu Xiaomo was stunned. Before he could react, Mu Changle gulped it down. Mu Xiaomo was completely bewildered. Drinking so fast? Uncle, you should drink less. It's nothing, it's nothing. Mu Changle waved his hand and picked up his wine glass to pour himself another glass. From now on, I'll be entrusting Ning Ning to your care. She handles most of the affairs, so I'd like to offer you a toast. Let's drink together this time. Mu Xiaomo was stunned. This. Why does Mu Changle seem a bit drunk? He quickly raised his glass, then clinked glasses with Mu Changle and drank. Then the four of them ate together. Mu Xiaomo chatted with Mu Changle and Li Qingru in fits and starts, mostly about what happened between him and Mu Baining at school. For example, yesterday's sports meet. More than an hour later, because his cooking was truly delicious, the dining table had become a complete mess. The fish has been eaten. We've almost finished eating. Mu Changle was already quite drunk. Although he hadn't passed out, he appeared to be unconscious. Mu Xiaomo also felt a little dizzy. Seeing that the two of them had drunk so much, Mu Baining was not in a good mood. She pouted and said, Dad, it's one thing for you to drink too much, but how could you let Momo drink so much too? It won't be safe for him on the way back. After saying that, Mu Baining quickly helped Mu Xiaomo up. Momo, are you all right? The latter shook his head. It's okay, I didn't drink much. Go back to what? Mu Changle suddenly raised his head, his cheeks already slightly red. They drank quite a lot. Mu Changle stretched out his arm, his head swaying, pointed at Mu Omo and said drunkenly, Tonight you'll sleep with Ning Ning. I'm still waiting to hold my grandson. Chapter 146, My Father-in-Law's Bizarre Moves. Mu Baining was completely dumbfounded when she heard this. Did her dad finally speak his mind? Waiting to hold my grandson. My God, she's only 22, so young. To be honest, Mu Baining wasn't really against having Zyro Mo's child, but having a child now. No way, it's too early, too early. Dad, what nonsense are you talking about? Hearing his words, Mu Baining's face turned slightly red, because it reminded her of the scene she did with Mu Omo. I'm not making this up, Mu Changle said in a serious tone. Your Uncle Wang's daughter is a year younger than you. Look at her child, he can already run around. What about you? If you hadn't met Zyro Mo, you'd still be single. Mu Baining. She turned her gaze to Li Qingru. Mom, look at Dad, he's drunk again. All right, Li Qingru said. Old Mu, you've drunk too much today, go back and rest. In fact, Li Qingru also felt that Mu Changle's words made sense. But she couldn't say it in front of Mu Ziomo. I didn't drink too much. Mu Changle looked at Mu Ziomo and said, Ziomo, did you hear what your uncle said? You're staying here tonight. This, Mu Ziomo grinned, sensing that Mu Changle was indeed drunk. Just then, he suddenly stood up. I just remembered I have something to do. You guys eat first, I'll go take care of it now. After saying that, he swaggered into the bathroom. Mu Ziomo frowned. He felt that Mu Changle had drunk too much, but he also felt that he hadn't. Zhang Lu wasn't flustered at all, and didn't seem like someone who had drunk too much. Ning Ning, your dad might be about to throw up. Go get him a glass of water quickly, Li Qingru instructed. Mu Baining nodded immediately upon hearing this. Okay, Momo, you eat first, I'll go get a glass of water. After saying that, he took the glass, walked to the water dispenser, and poured water. Just then, Mu Changle came out carrying a wash basin. There's still a lot of water inside. Mu Omo, Mu Baining, and Li Qingru all stared at Mu Changle with blank expressions. Carry water? What are you going to do with a basin of water? All three eyes were on him. Mu Changle slowly placed the basin at the doorway and then threw Mu Omo's shoes inside. I changed into slippers when I arrived at Mu Baining's house, but Mu Omo looked completely bewildered. Noticing the three people's gazes, Mu Changle said, Why are you looking at me? I noticed Omo's shoes are a bit dirty, let me help him clean them. Mu Omo. This father-in-law is going to any lengths to keep him here. Mu Baining was completely bewildered. What kind of crazy thing is this, Dad? Did you wash Mu Omo's shoes? What? Dad, you. Go eat quickly, what do you mean, I? At this moment, Mu Changle went into the bathroom, took out laundry detergent and a shoe brush, and started brushing the shoes. He did look a little dizzy, but that's right, he has completely outmaneuvered Mu Omo. Not only Mu Omo, Li Qingru and Mu Baining, but also Mu Baining covered her face. Good heavens, her dad, what the heck is this? Mu Omo's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that she really had to stay at Mu Baining's house tonight? Sleeping with Mu Baining. It's possible, but her parents are home after all, so. Thinking about this made Mu Omo feel very uncomfortable. But his shoes are all cleaned. How is he supposed to walk? Wearing Mu Changle's clothes should be fine. Oops. Mu Baining pouted. It's okay, Momo, you can just wear my dad's shoes. I'll drive you there later. Just as Mu Baining finished speaking, Mu Changle said, Oh no, the key broke and I locked the door. Mu Changle pointed to the door lock with a smile. Mu Baining's. Mu Omo. Li Qingru. What is that? The key is broken. Mu Changle used some incredible strength to break the key in two. Mu Baining quickly went over and opened the door. It really won't open. Seeing this, Mu Changle knew that his goal had been achieved. He yawned and said, I'm a little sleepy. Daughter, I'm going to sleep. Zyro Mo, you can sleep with Ning Ning tonight. After saying that, he staggered into the room, gently closed the door. Mu Baining looked helpless. Oh, it seems like Mu Omo really can't leave today. It will take until tomorrow to find a locksmith. Mu Baining turned her gaze to Li Qingru. Mom, we need to find a locksmith now. It's going to rain soon. Li Qingru looked at her phone and said, The phone says there will be heavy rain to torrential rain in 20 minutes. It's so late now, and it's not safe for you to drive. Why don't you let Momo stay here? Mu Baining was taken aback. It seemed that letting Momo stay at his house today was fate. She had no choice but to nod. Okay. Momo, you can stay here tonight. There are many rooms in the house. I'll go make your bed in a bit. Mu Xiaomo agreed softly. No. Just then, Mu Changle suddenly came out of the room. He strode forward and said, Why make up a bed? Both bedrooms are empty. We only have 2 beds in the house so we can sleep together. As he spoke, Mu Changle locked the doors to the other 2 bedrooms. He put the key directly into his pocket. Mu Banings, my dad really went wild today. He's not usually like this. Come on, let's talk about it. Mu Changle strode over to Mu Xiaomo, grabbed his wrist, and then grabbed Mu Baning's wrist. They managed to drag the 2 of them into Mu Baning's bedroom. Your boyfriend and girlfriend, you can live together, Ning Ning. Why are you shy? Mu Baning wanted to retort, but she swallowed the words that were about to come out of her mouth. It's almost time. I'll go out and wash the pots and pans. Okay, you 2 can rest now. Lights out. Mu Changle turned off the light in her bedroom, then walked out, closing the door behind him. Mu Xiaomo. Mu Baning. Click. Mu Baning turned on the light, then swallowed hard and stared at Mu Xiaomo somewhat embarrassedly. What happened today was truly embarrassing. Momo, my dad's had too much to drink, sorry. At this moment, Mu Baning almost dared not look at Mu Xiao anymore. Everything that had happened today was truly embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. Mu Xiaomo smiled and said, It's nothing, it's normal. If it were my dad, he might have done even crazier than yours. Besides, he really drank a lot today. He only dared to do this when he was drunk. Besides, I also want to sleep with Ning Ning in my arms. P.S. Please give me flowers and a 5-star review. Regarding Ming's sister-in-law's book, we're currently discussing it. She says my writing is terrible and she's going to rub me in the ground. Chapter 147, Ning Ning. You look so beautiful tonight. ////Q. Actually, Mu Baning also wanted to hold Momo while they slept. But as a girl, she had to maintain her composure, so she didn't say it. Just as Mu Baning was feeling a little shy, Mu Xiaomo opened the bedroom door. Snap. Seeing this, Mu Baning couldn't help but ask, Momo, what are you going to do? Of course, it's washing the dishes for your parents. Don't you even know how much your dad drank? You should go and help him out. Mu Baning nodded. Mu Changle has drunk quite a bit. He should be sleeping now. So after the 2 of them left the room, they tiptoed around, afraid of disturbing Mu Changle. At the same time, Mu Changle was sitting on the sofa in the living room, talking to Li Qingru. Because of the angle, he didn't notice the 2 people coming out. Honey, what do you think of the method I came up with today? In 10 months, we can just wait to hold our grandson. Mu Changle said drunkenly, and Li Qingru rolled her eyes when she heard this. All right, why are you in such a hurry? What if you leave a bad impression on Xiaomo? It's all right, Mu Changle said with a smile. No, the 2 children's relationship is already very stable, and he's easygoing, he won't care about these things. I just wonder if Mu Xiaomo will bring Ning Ning tonight. Li Qingru noticed that Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baning had come out, so she coughed twice and patted Mu Changle's thigh. Mu Changle turned his head and said, Hey, what brings you guys out here? Mu Baning. She must have heard what her father said. She didn't say anything. Mu Xiaomo said, Uncle, let's clean up the table. You drank quite a bit today. Go inside and rest. Oh, no need to be so polite. I'll take care of it. Li Qingru quickly stood up. Of course, she couldn't refuse Mu Xiaomo. In the end, it was he and Mu Baning who cleaned up the dining table. After they finished, Li Qingru dragged Mu Changle to the room to sleep. Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baning returned to her room. Inside the room, Mu Baning drew the curtains and sat on the bed. She gently patted the bed and smiled. Momo, what are you standing there for? It's getting late, go to sleep. Come with me to the supermarket tomorrow morning. I need to buy some things. Upon hearing this, Mu Xiaomo couldn't help but twitch her nostrils. A faint fragrance wafted into his nostrils. He nodded and said, I've been running around all day. I'd better go take a shower first. Okay, wait a minute, Momo. I'll find you some pajamas, Tilda. Mu Baning quickly stood up, walked to the wardrobe, and opened it. She didn't know if Mu Xiaomo could fit into her pajamas, since the boy's frame was much larger than hers. At the same time, Mu Xiaomo also looked over curiously. Then, to his surprise, he discovered that Mu Baning's wardrobe contained all sorts of uniforms. There are also some hanfu, traditional hand clothing, and even a lot of sea clothes. Good heavens, this is exactly what he expected. Found it. A dozen seconds later, Mu Baning found a set of light pink cinnamon dog pajamas that were exceptionally smooth and soft. Mu Xiaomo was taken aback when she saw the pink pajamas. Good grief, making him wear such pink pajamas. The problem is that it's not even certain if you can fit into them. Mu Baining chuckled and held up the pajamas to Mu Xiaomo, saying, "Hiss Tilda, I feel like you can't fit into these." The two have very different bone structures, and although her pajamas are relatively loose, Mu Xiaomo might not be able to fit into them. Mu Xiaomo looked at the pink pajamas and nodded. "I definitely can't fit into them, Maybe I should just forget about it. I can just wrap myself in a bath towel later. You can even touch my abs." Upon hearing the word abs, Mu Baining's expression suddenly changed. She nodded repeatedly. "Omega, okay then, I'll go get you a bath towel." As Mu Baining was about to leave the room, the door was pushed open. It is Mu Baining's mother, Li Qingru. She had a towel in her hand, a dark blue nightgown, a toothbrush, and a toothbrush cup. Seeing that they were still awake, Li Qingru smiled and said, "Momo, these are your uncle's unused pajamas and a new bath towel, along with a toothbrush and a toothbrush cup." Mu Xiaomo was taken aback. Did Ningning's mom think of everything? Seeing her mother come in, Mu Baining chuckled and said, "Mom, you've come at just the right time. I was just about to go out and get a towel for Momo." Li Qingru looked at Mu Xiaomo with eyes full of love. "Then, Xiaomo, you can take a shower in the guest bathroom later. There is water in the water dispenser in the living room. If you are thirsty at night, you can go and drink water. You don't need to get up very early in the morning. Remember to eat breakfast at home." "Yes, thank you, Auntie." Li Qingru was so enthusiastic that she didn't bother her too much and left the room quickly. Mu Xiaomo left the bedroom with a bath towel, pajamas, toothbrush, and toothbrush cup, and took a quick shower. After he finished washing, Mu Baining also went out. Mu Xiaomo's heart was pounding very fast as she lay in bed. He looked around the room, unsure of what to do. "So I started playing on my phone. It's really awful not being at home. The main problem is that he's now separated from Mu Baining's parents by only a wall, which is incredibly awkward. If it were just him and Mu Baining, he definitely wouldn't feel this way." About half an hour later, Mu Baining finally finished showering and came out. She had already changed into a nightgown. That's right, it's a nightgown, not pajamas. A white tank top, a short skirt that reached above the knee, revealing her fair thighs. Seeing this scene, Mu Xiaomo felt a surge of excitement. Seeing Mu Xiaomo staring straight at her, Mu Baining smiled sweetly. "Momo isn't asleep yet." "No, not yet." Mu Xiaomo felt like her nose was about to bleed. Is Ningning deliberately seducing him? Is she really not afraid that he will lose control of himself and give her 10 months of peace? "Then go to sleep quickly, Tilda." Mu Baining walked to the window and pulled the curtains shut. The bedside lamp cast an orange glow, and the faint fragrance in the air created a truly romantic atmosphere. Seeing that Mu Xiaomo showed no intention of lying down, Mu Baining looked at him curiously and asked, "What's wrong, Momo? Is something the matter?" "No," Mu Xiaomo shook her head, staring at the area below her collarbone, and swallowed. "I just feel, Ningning, you look so beautiful tonight." Perhaps it was because of the alcohol, but Mu Xiaomo felt like she was losing control of herself. Upon hearing Mu Xiaomo's words, Mu Baining smiled like a crescent moon. "Then, Momo, do you want a kiss?" Chapter 148, Mu Baining. "I can fulfill any request you make." At this point, Xiaomo was almost losing her mind, especially when Mu Baining asked him if he wanted a kiss. "Of course you want it. You're lying next to a stunning 36D woman who asks if you want a kiss. Would you refuse?" Mu Xiaomo did not answer her question, but instead decisively went over and hugged Mu Baining. My arm stroked her smooth skin. It was truly exceptionally smooth and well-maintained. Her hair was still wet from the shower, and she smelled of shower gel. Feeling Mu Xiaomo's arm, Mu Baining's heart fluttered. She felt incredibly safe this way, and every time she was with Mu Xiaomo, she couldn't help but think of the feeling of being held in Mu Xiaomo's arms when she injured her foot. Feeling his enormous body, Mu Baining felt a ticklish sensation in her heart. The two stared at each other for 3 seconds. Mu Baining didn't look away. On the contrary, she felt that Mu Xiaomo was becoming more and more attractive. At this moment, Mu Xiaomo felt that she would be doing herself a disservice if she didn't kiss him. Without hesitation, he moved his lips closer to Mu Baining, and then their lips met in a kiss. Mu Baining naturally closed her eyes, and at the same time, the sound of kissing could be heard in the air. Boys usually get restless at this time, and Mu Xiaomo was no exception. Soon, the two were lying on the bed. Mu Xiaomo pressed down on her body, his hands particularly eager to undress her. As the ink brushed against her skin, Mu Baining suddenly spoke. "No." She pursed her lips, shook her head, and gave Muziomo's chest a slight push. Muziomo was taken aback. Looking at Mu Baining lying pitifully on the bed, he took a deep breath. Oh my God, what am I doing? The person lying next to him is the captain of the criminal investigation team. Although the captain agreed to let him do such a thing, the main point is that, to some extent, he and Mu Baining have not yet officially established a relationship. Mu Baining saw Muziomo suddenly stop what she was doing, and she knew that Muziomo must be feeling extremely uncomfortable at this moment. It would be a lie to say I wasn't uncomfortable, since we'd already done almost all the foreplay. Then a dam came along. This happened to that boy, and he was really upset. Then Mu Baining stretched out her arm and gently tapped Muziomo's cheek, then said, "Next time, maybe next time. My parents are home right now, it's not convenient." Some sign. Letter FF9F de letter FF9F, Japanese letter, Japanese letter. Muziomo was taken aback when she heard Mu Baining's words. Next time? What the heck next time? Could it be? Muziomo stared wide-eyed at Mu Baining, her eyes filled with astonishment. Keep in mind, the two of them had only been dating for less than a month. She was willing to give him her first time. Seeing Muziomo's surprised look, Mu Baining chuckled and said, "Why is Momo being so silly now? Don't be surprised. I'll be your girlfriend after the semester ends. Didn't you say you would marry me? So, as your fiancé, I can grant you any request." Mu Baining smiled again. To her, these were all trivial matters. As his wife, she should satisfy her future husband. Although she is a strong woman, she still feels that Muziomo should be in charge of the family in the future. Also, Mu Baining also likes Cece, who doesn't like a little bit of smut. According to incomplete statistics from some interview programs on Douyin, girls are more fond of erotic content than boys. Of course, this is common sense and perfectly normal. If you don't like it, then there's a problem. Looking at the well-behaved Mu Baining, Muziomo gently rubbed her cheek. Then he said softly, "Ning Ning, I will definitely marry you." Mu Baining nodded slightly. "Yes, I believe you. Then, darling, let's cuddle and sleep together." "Okay, Tilda." Mu Baining was like a clingy kitten. She rested her cheek on Muziomo's arm and placed her other hand on his stomach. "That's right, it's touching abs." After completing this action, Mu Baining closed her eyes, and her breathing became exceptionally even. "I'm really tired today, and Mu Baining is also quite sleepy." Muziomo gently patted her back with her arm, just like she was coaxing a child to sleep. A dozen minutes later, Mu Baining had fallen asleep, so he reached out and turned off the bedside lamp, closed his eyes, and drifted off to sleep. The next morning, at 7 o'clock in the morning, Muziomo yawned. At this moment, Mu Baining was still nestled in his arms as always. However, the girl was still fast asleep and hadn't woken up yet. Muziomo glanced at her long, curled eyelashes, and a warm feeling welled up inside her. Whether it was because Mu Baining was beside him or because he had been drinking last night, he slept exceptionally well this time. "I slept until I naturally woke up, and when I opened my eyes, I felt refreshed." Mu Baining asked him to go shopping with her today. It was time to get up, so Muziomo gently patted her shoulder. Then she said, "Ning Ning, time to wake up Tilda." She hummed in agreement, shifted her body slightly, and seemed somewhat unwilling. "Get up, my little sleepyhead." Girls often linger in bed after waking up, and Mu Baining is no exception. Seeing that she showed no sign of getting up, Muziomo immediately remembered the ultimate technique she used to wake Muzioxi up when they were little. "That's right, I tickled her ribs. This area is particularly sensitive, especially for some thin girls." Muziomo slowly scratched her ribs, and just then, Mu Baining suddenly opened her eyes. Her body suddenly felt numb and tingly, and she didn't even have time to react. "What are you doing?" Momo, I'm so itchy." "Stop it, it hurts so much." But Muziomo showed no sign of stopping. "Ning Ning, what's wrong? Why are you still in bed?" "Oh dear, ha. Mo, stop tickling me. Mom and Dad are still outside. I can't hold back anymore." Mu Baining struggled frantically, but Muziomo stopped when she remembered that her parents were still outside. "Get up quickly." "I don't." Mu Baining pouted. Yes, she was throwing a little tantrum. Muziomo was taken aback, and at the same time she rolled her eyes. "You brat, do you want to see me get dressed? Hurry up and go wash up. After you're done, I'll be dressed." Upon hearing this, Muziomo chuckled. "Ning Ning, actually, it's not a bad thing to look at your clothes. I'd actually be willing, telugu te tainus, Sigma. Chapter 149, this Muziomo actually asked her for a change of a dress fee. Upon hearing Mu Xiaomo's words, Mu Baining looked at him with disdain. She rolled her eyes. That brat of a brother is really bad. Do you want to see her change clothes? Mu Baining looked around, grabbed a pink leopard plush toy from beside her pillow, and threw it at Mu Xiaomo. You little brat, you're dreaming. Seeing this, Mu Xiaomo quickly reached out and caught the pink panther that she had thrown, then placed it next to the bookshelf. Seeing Mu Baining's sullen expression, he couldn't help but smile. This girl is actually quite cute when she gets angry. He said, just kidding. Ning Ning, hurry up and get dressed. I'm going to wash up first. Mu Baining certainly wouldn't get angry over such a small matter, and Mu Xiaomo quickly left the bedroom. Outside, Mu Xiaomo came out and saw Li Qingru sweeping the floor. Breakfast was ready, and she was cleaning while wearing an apron. Seeing Mu Xiaomo come out, she said with a smile, Momo, you're awake. Good morning. Good morning, Auntie Tilda, he replied softly, glancing around the room at the same time. Where's Uncle? He drank quite a bit last night. Is he still not awake? He had something to do this morning, and has already gone to work at the bureau. This, Mu Xiaomo was taken aback, not expecting Mu Changlei to go to work so early. At this moment, Li Qingru said, Auntie, I have to go to work too. My job doesn't have weekends. I'll go inside and change my clothes first. There's food on the table. You and Ning Ning can eat together later. Okay, Auntie, please be careful on your way. Mu Xiaomo nodded, and Li Qingru didn't say anything more before entering the room. After a quick wash, Mu Xiaomo took the clothes that were on the balcony and put them on. At this moment, Li Qingru had already left the house, and Mu Xiaomo had just returned to the living room when Mu Baining came out of her bedroom. Today, Mu Baining was dressed very casually. A pink striped sweater, light blue loose jeans, white socks, and she hadn't changed her shoes. She was wearing a pair of white Yeezy flip-flops. She wasn't wearing makeup at the time, but she was still very attractive. Noticing that no one was in the room, Mu Baining looked a little puzzled and couldn't help but ask, where are Mom and Dad? Dad went to work early this morning, and Mom just left 5 or 6 minutes ago. Mu Baining suddenly remembered that her mother had recently been promoted and received a raise, so she was indeed quite busy with work. She said, then, I'll go wash up. Momo, you go eat first. Okay, Tilda. Mu Xiaomo glanced at Mu Baining, and then Mu Baining happily ran into the bathroom. Mu Xiaomo then went to the balcony to check his shoes. It's not dry yet. The shoes definitely wouldn't dry overnight, but Mu Xiaomo didn't take it seriously. I'll just buy a pair when I go out with Ning Ning later. He usually wears inexpensive shoes, which he buys from a certain brand. The most expensive pair is only 300 yuan. When Mu Xiaomo returned to the restaurant, she noticed that Li Qingru had prepared sandwiches for them for breakfast that morning. The bread was filled with ingredients such as bacon, chicken, lettuce, and tomato. There were 4 sandwiches in total, and of course 2 cups of warm milk. You could say they put a lot of effort into it. About 5 or 6 minutes later, he heard Mu Baining's footsteps behind him. She walked over with a smile on her face. Momo, what did Mom prepare for breakfast today? Upon hearing this, Mu Xiaomo raised the sandwich she had just taken a bite of. Here, the sandwiches Mom prepared. Upon hearing this, Mu Baining snorted. HMPH, you don't dare to say anything about our mother in front of her. Now that she's gone to work, you're talking about Mom again. Her expression was one of disdain, and as she spoke, she sat down next to Mu Xiaomo. Mu Xiaomo said, It's mainly because it's my first time meeting Auntie. If you want me to change how I address you, you'll have to give me some change of address fee. Mu Baining was taken aback. This Mu Xiaomo was actually asking her for a change of address fee. Just as Mu Baining was about to say something, a sandwich was stuffed into her mouth. Let's eat quickly, aren't we going out to buy things later? Snort. She held the sandwich and snorted. After dinner, Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baining entered her bedroom one after the other. What is the first thing a girl should do after finishing breakfast? Of course, it's about putting on makeup and combing your hair. At this moment, Mu Baining was already sitting in front of the dressing table. Through the mirror, she could see Mu Xiaomo staring at her intently. Mu Baining frowned, turned her head and stared at Mu Xiaomo, asking, Momo, is that a piece of money on my face? Why are you staring at me like that? Mu Xiaomo shook her head. I just think Ning Ning is so beautiful. How about I do your makeup today? Upon hearing this, Mu Baining asked with a look of disbelief, Do my makeup? Momo, do you even know how to do makeup? Mu Xiaomo nodded, but before he could speak, Mu Baining asked, Could it be that you wear skirts and women's clothes at home before you learned how to put on makeup? Mu Xiaomo, what is that? Mu was completely dumbfounded after hearing this. How could a tough guy like him wear women's clothes? I have no idea what's going on in Mu Baning's head, how she came up with this. He immediately said, Ning Ning, what are you thinking? Do I look like that? It's just that Xyroxy is a bit lazy. When she was little, I was the one who did her makeup and hair, which is how I developed such good skills. Oh. Mu Baning looked somewhat disappointed. She thought Mu would usually dress up as a woman at home. After careful consideration, she realized that quietly doing her makeup wasn't such a bad thing. She said, if you won't turn me into a clown, well, I'm willing to give you a chance. Definitely not. Mu was overjoyed after receiving Mu Baning's consent. Doing her makeup is actually a way of showcasing myself. Mu quickly moved closer to observe his delicate features. Mu Baning usually dresses in a mature and sophisticated style, but occasionally changing her style can have unexpected effects. So this time, Mu plans to give her a sweet girl makeup look. Of course, before putting on makeup, we still need to ask Mu Baning if she is willing. Looking at herself in the mirror, Mu asked, Ning Ning, you're wearing a pink sweater today. How about I give you a sweet girl makeup look? Can? Mu Baning's eyes were full of anticipation. Actually, she wasn't so domineering before becoming a professor. But because of work, I need to wear a uniform and black stockings, so I dressed like this. With Ning Ning's permission, Mu carefully recalled the time she had done Mu Xyroxy's makeup before. Well, actually, makeup is relatively simple for girls. The first step in applying makeup is to wash your face, then apply toner, moisturizer, and sunscreen. Mu Baning has already washed her face and applied lotion and moisturizer, so you can go into quarantine now. As Mu helped her apply the cream, Mu Baning said, It's been a long time since I dressed up as a sweet girl. Today, I'll just be a sweet girl for once. Chapter 150, I'll show you another private hairdresser experience. Oh. After hearing Mu Baning's words, Mu asked, Could it be that Ning Ning was always a sweet girl before? Of course. Mu Baning nodded and then said, When I was in high school and college, I really liked going to anime conventions, so I liked to dress in a more girlish way back then. The clothes I'm wearing now are the ones I bought when I was in college. Upon hearing this, Mu finally understood why Mu Baning had so many cosplay outfits, Hanfu, Lolita fashion items in her wardrobe. So she's a cosplayer. Looks like we'll have a chance to see Ning Ning wearing all sorts of beautiful clothes in the future. This perfectly satisfies his LSB, lifestyles of sponsorship. He said, what a coincidence, Xyroxy often goes to comic conventions too. You can bring Xyroxy with you then. Sure. Upon hearing this news, Mu Baning's eyes lit up. Since her senior year of college, she has been preparing for her future job and entrepreneurship, so she hasn't been to a comic convention for more than a year. When I have time, I can really take Mu Xyroxy out to play. You can even cosplay with Mu Xyroxy. The main thing is that the comic conventions in Shanghai have always been exceptionally well organized and of very high quality. Mu continued, There are quite a few cross-dressing guys at anime conventions. No wonder you just said I was cross-dressing. Buff. Mu Baning hummed in agreement. Sorry, Momo, I know you won't wear women's clothes. But you can give it a try. You might be pleasantly surprised. Mu Xiomo's face darkened. This Ning Ning is really cheeky. Of course, Mu Baning was just joking. Mu Xiomo had already applied the sunscreen for her, and now it was time to apply foundation. Because Mu Baning's skin was already in good condition, without any acne or dullness, Mu Xiomo didn't apply foundation to her. He prefers a more natural makeup look to a completely pale face. Seeing Mu Xiomo pick up the foundation and then put it down again, Mu Baning smiled and said, I don't usually wear foundation, so just skip to the next step. Tilda. Mu Xiomo nodded. The next step was to do her eye makeup. Opening the Earth eyeshadow palette, Mu Xiomo chose a brown eyeshadow with a bling shimmer. This color is particularly beautiful, although it is a bit dark, but he didn't use much of it. This is simply adding a little layering to the eyes. Because she's a sweet girl, her makeup wasn't too elaborate. He then chose a light pink eyeshadow to complete the look. Finally, I chose a very light-colored lipstick. Lastly, it's time for the makeup to be finalized. Looking at herself in the mirror, Mu Baning had to admit that Mu Xiomo's makeup skills were truly exceptional. She even felt that her skills were inferior to Mu Xiomo's. And so, after Mu Xiomo's manipulation, a perfectly executed Korean sweet girl makeup was created. Her lips had a subtle pearlescent sheen, and her makeup looked incredibly natural, like she was wearing no makeup at all. With her stunningly beautiful face, it all looks perfectly natural. Of course, it's not without its drawbacks. The downside is that Mu Baning's hair is a bit messy. After all, it's normal for hair to be a little messy after a nap. Mu Xiaomo stood behind Mu Baning and suddenly placed her hand on her shoulder. Then looking at Mu Baning in the mirror, she said, "How is it, Ning Ning? My makeup skills are pretty good, right?" Mu Baning nodded slightly. She had to admit that Mu Xiaomo's makeup skills were truly amazing. "Great." Mu Baning tilted her head back and said, "Momo, it seems I've found more than just a boyfriend." Mu Xiaomo lowered her head and asked, "What is that?" "He is my personal chef, personal musician, personal bodyguard, and personal beautician." Mu Xiaomo was taken aback and said in a teasing tone, "Goodness, isn't this just a pure tool?" "Mu Baning, you could say that." Mu Xiaomo was speechless. He continued, "Then how about I perform another one for you, private hairdresser?" Hearing his words, Mu Baning asked with considerable curiosity, "Private hairdresser, are you going to cut my hair?" You could say that." Mu Xiaomo stroked her hair, which was particularly soft and had been straightened. "When she was little, I often braided Xeroxy's hair. The two of us would often study hairstyles with a big red book, and we naturally learned how to do it." Mu Baning smiled after hearing this. "Having a younger sister like this isn't bad either. At least, it gave me such an all-around amazing boyfriend." Mu Xiaomo stroked her hair and asked, "So, dear Ms. Ningning, what are your thoughts on your hairstyle today?" Mu Baning rolled her eyes. "That's the vibe. Every time I go to the hair salon, Tony asks me that. You can become Tony the hairstylist for me right now. Come on, this is home, and you don't even have any hairdressing tools." Mu Baning said, "This is home, you know. You can use a curling iron, Tilda." Mu Xiaomo glanced at the curling iron on the vanity and said, "Make your hair a little wavy. It'll look more natural, okay?" After hearing this, Mu Baning thought about it carefully and felt it was feasible. She had previously gotten a perm with big waves, and I don't think that hairstyle was too bad. A perm with a curling iron can only last a day, and since she hasn't had her hair done in a long time, as long as Mu Xiaomo doesn't turn her bald, he can do whatever he wants with her. After receiving Mu Baning's consent, Mu Xiaomo quickly picked up the curling iron. After plugging it in and preheating it, I carefully permed her hair. He was very careful throughout the entire process, because he had accidentally burned Mu Xeroxy with the curling iron when he was a child. That girl cried right then and there. "It's fine if my sister gets burned, but I can't let my wife get burned." If Mu Xeroxy knew what he was thinking, she would definitely give him a good scolding. Once he got a girlfriend, he stopped loving his sister. Mu Xiaomo quickly finished perming Mu Baning's hair. She styled her hair into wispy bangs with some strands falling over her shoulders. Mu Xiaomo clapped her hands and said, "All done. Ning Ning, what do you think?" Although perming hair isn't tiring, it does take a lot of effort. Mu Baning looked at herself in the mirror with a rather narcissistic expression, then couldn't help but stand up and hug Mu Xiaomo. Their chests pressed tightly together, and Mu Xiaomo felt a soft sensation, which instantly made her body feel numb and tingly. "Ning Ning, it's just a perm. Why did you pick her up?" Chapter 151, Mu Baning. "I feel like I'm not good enough for Mu Xiaomo." Mu Baning hugged Mu Xiaomo tightly. "It's all because your perm looks so beautiful, darling Tilda. There was even a moment when I felt I wasn't good enough for you." Mu Baning spoke her mind. Yes, for a moment she did feel unworthy of Mu Xiaomo. After spending so much time with her, she discovered that Mu Xiaomo was simply omnipotent. Mu Xiaomo is simply too outstanding. "Not good enough for me." Knowing what Mu Baning was thinking, Mu Xiaomo said, "How could that be? Ning Ning is excellent too. You're only 22 years old this year, the youngest professor I've ever met. Didn't Liu Weiwei graduate with you? Look at her." Mu Xiaomo didn't continue speaking after all. Everyone pursues different things. The fact that Mu Baning became a professor at this age is enough to prove her ability. Upon hearing his words, Mu Baning's face darkened. "Momo, you can't belittle other people. Everyone pursues different things. Don't let Liu Weiwei's usual carefree attitude fool you, actually. Her family is rich." "Is there a mine?" Mu Xiaomo was slightly taken aback, while Mu Baning nodded. "That's right, they own a mine. Her father owns an oil field in Gannon province. If I remember correctly, her family should have tens of billions." Upon hearing this, Mu Xiaomo immediately felt a chill. Unexpectedly, Liu Weiwei turned out to be a wealthy woman. "I'm envious." However, Mu Xiaomo remembered that his father seemed to own a company called Yidian, but he didn't know how much money his family had, judging from the fact that his father gives him 3,000 yuan a month for living expenses. My dad probably doesn't earn that much. Omo hummed in agreement. Yes, Ningning, I'm not belittling anyone else. If I were Liu Weiwei, I'd probably be living a life of leisure, spending my days looking for male models. Upon hearing Omo's words, Mu Beining's face darkened. If he were Liu Weiwei, he would be seeing male models every day. So wouldn't that mean that Stinky Momo will be able to spend all his time dating female models when he gets rich? Of course, she knew that Omo wasn't that kind of person. But I couldn't help but say, when you become rich, won't you be spending all your time with female models? How could that be? Omo said, I won't complain about having too much money. Once we're rich, I'll make Ningning a woman who never lifts a finger. You just be as beautiful as a flower Tilda. Upon hearing this, Mu Beining blushed slightly. Actually, she never thought of becoming someone who never lifts a finger. But this doesn't seem so bad. Mu Beining nodded slightly. Okay, once we've earned 100 million, I'll be responsible for being beautiful, and you'll be responsible for. I'll take care of earning money to support the family. Hearing Omo's words, Mu Beining was overjoyed. Although it's just a simple sentence, it definitely reflects his aspirations for the future. Mu Beining pouted, no need, no need. It's not like I'm incapable of supporting a family. If all else fails, I'll support you. Hey, hey. Mu Omo chuckled. Haha, okay, then I'll be ready to be a gigolo. Well, since dear Ningning is all dressed up beautifully, didn't you say you wanted to buy something? Let's go quickly. Mu Beining didn't pay attention to what Mu Omo said. Just then, Mu Beining suddenly remembered what Liu Weiwei had told her. After the honeymoon phase ends, a few months of calm will follow. During the calmer period, a boy's shortcomings will gradually become apparent. I don't know what Momo's shortcomings are. She shook her head. No one in the world is perfect, and she didn't have high expectations of Momo. I wonder if Momo is like other guys, often feeling shy and awkward. However, she was a little puzzled as to where the movie websites the boys were talking about came from. Why can't she find it? Mu Beining changed into a pair of white flat shoes, and then took Mu Omo's arm as they went to the living room. At this moment, Mu Omo was wearing a pair of slippers. Seeing this, she frowned and asked, Momo, why are you still wearing slippers? It was quite cold outside this morning, but today it seems to be over 10 degrees Celsius. Your shoes. At this moment, Mu Beining suddenly remembered that Momo's shoes had been washed by her father last night. I haven't even finished drying it today. Mu Beining thought about it carefully. My dad's shoe size is also 44. Why don't you wear my dad's for now? When we go shopping later, I'll buy you a new pair of shoes. Upon hearing this, Mu Omo nodded. Okay, actually I can always wear uncle's clothes. No, 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 Mu Beining shook her head. My dad has athlete's foot that. She shut her mouth before she could finish speaking. At the same time, Mu Omo's face darkened. What uncle has athlete's foot? Seeing Mu Omo's expression, Mu Beining quickly said, My dad still has some new shoes he hasn't worn yet. I'll go get them for you right now. With that, she rushed into her parents' bedroom. Seeing this, Mu Omo shrugged helplessly. Soon, Mu Beining found a brand new pair of crocodile skin shoes. She repeatedly emphasized that the shoes were new and had never been worn before, assuring Mu Omo that she could wear them without worry. Of course, Mu Omo wouldn't mind at all. And so, Mu Omo changed into Mu Changlei's shoes and left Happiness Community with Mu Beining. Mu Beining kept her promise and went to a Nike store to buy Mu Omo a pair of shoes. And it's the same style as the one she's wearing. Air Force One white sneakers can be considered a couple's item. Then Mu Omo and Mu Beining went shopping together and bought a lot of clothes for the changing season. It's getting colder and colder, so I need to get new clothes. As her boyfriend, Mu Beining naturally wanted to spoil him. They had lunch together again at noon and didn't return to school until 2:30 p.m. Mu Omo entered the dormitory carrying various shopping bags. At this moment, Huang Wenxu, Du Yang, and Bai Yuntao were all in the dormitory. That's right, as always, Huang Wenxu and Bai Yuntao were playing games. Unfortunately, after he went in, some of them even lost the game. Grass. Huang Wenxu threw down his headphones and immediately turned his gaze to Bai Yuntao. I already told you, save your last bullet for me, that way we won't lose. You wouldn't listen to me. How did I die? I was smashed to death with a frying pan. Bai Yuntao, are you fucking stupid? If you hadn't been so reckless, we would have won this game already. Both of them had their reasons. And just then, Huang Wenxu suddenly turned his gaze to Mu Xiaomo. Hey, isn't this brother Mo? Did you do something naughty again last night? Mu Xiaomo's face darkened. He said, get lost. How did I do anything wrong? I went to Professor Mu's house yesterday, stayed for one night, and then bought some things today. Holy crap! Upon hearing this, Huang Wenxu and Bai Yuntao were completely dumbfounded. What? They're living in Professor Mu's house now. This is real torture. Huang Wenxu and Bai Yuntao both came over. What did you buy? Let me see. What are you looking at? You don't even have clothes like that. Maybe there is. Huang Wenxu and Bai Yuntao both brazenly walked over. Then they looked around his clothes. Mu Xiaomo looked helpless. Did those two dogs try to steal his clothes? Chapter 152, here's 500 yuan. Please tell my grandpa I trained on time today. Get out, get out, get out. Mu Xiaomo rolled her eyes. These two guys must be incredibly poor to even steal his clothes. Take your eyes off my precious clothes right now. Holy crap. Huang Wenxu completely ignored Mu Xiaomo's words and looked at the boy hoodie. This hoodie looks like it costs more than 1,000 yuan. Don't look at me, my dear Huang. You weigh 200 pounds. You can't fit into it. Depend on. Hearing Mu Xiaomo's words, he rolled his eyes. He didn't bother to look at what clothes Mu Baining had bought for Mu Xiaomo. The main point is that Mu Xiaomo is right. He really is too fat. He couldn't possibly fit into any of the clothes in front of him. Bai Yuntao, on the other hand, was looking at Mu Xiaomo with a wicked smile. Brother Mo, I think your hoodie looks pretty good. Can I borrow it for a couple of days? Get out, get out, get out. Mu Xiaomo rolled her eyes. Want to get his clothes for free? No way. Besides, this is a matching couple's item with Mu Baining. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't care anyway. Bai Yuntao said this, but he was already making plans in his heart. When you're not looking, I'll definitely steal it and wear it once. On the other side, faculty and staff dormitory. What, Mu Xiaomo met your parents, and she's living with you. After Mu Baining returned, she was bombarded with a barrage of words by Liu Weiwei. Helpless, Mu Baining had no choice but to tell him about Mu Xiaomo's visit to her house last night. Just as she expected, Liu Weiwei was so surprised that her eyes almost popped out of her head when she heard this. Mu Baining said helplessly, Weiwei, why are you reacting so strongly? No, Ningning, I just feel like things are progressing a little too fast. Liu Weiwei said in a serious tone, Look, you two have only been dating for less than a month, and you've already met each other's parents. At this rate, I feel it won't be long before you meet his parents. Mu Baining nodded. Yes, we've already discussed it. This year, I'll go to Momo's house for Chinese New Year and meet his parents. Chinese New Year, that's all right. Liu Weiwei chuckled. Ningning, since Momo is sleeping with you now. Then do you have? As she spoke, Liu Weiwei clapped her hands 3 times. Mu Baining immediately understood what Liu Weiwei meant, and her face darkened. What are you thinking? My parents were both at home at the time. How could Momo and I have done that? Zyro Mo is such a good man. Liu Weiwei couldn't help but exclaim. If I were a man, and a stunning beauty like Ningning were sleeping next to me, I would definitely pounce on you. Mu Baining was speechless, and Gu Weiwei started barking again. At this moment, Mu Baining suddenly remembered that Mu Xiaomo had done her makeup and hair for her today. Girls just love to show off, especially their girlfriends. So Mu Baining said smugly, By the way, Weiwei, do you think my makeup and hair look good today? Upon hearing this, Liu Weiwei took a closer look at Mu Baining. Then she couldn't help but exclaim, Wow, don't tell me that your makeup and hair were all done by Momo. Good, you're so amazing. Mu Baining said smugly, That's right, my makeup and hair today were all done by Momo. Liu Weiwei's expression immediately turned aggrieved. Indeed, Mu Baining's attire today was completely different from usual. She's such a sweet goddess, so incredibly sweet. Liu Weiwei couldn't help but ask, Ningning, haven't I been doing a lot for you behind the scenes? Hearing this, Mu Baining nodded. Indeed, Mu Xiaomo did a lot for her. Liu Weiwei then asked, So you don't plan to do anything for him? What can I do? In fact, Mu Baining also wanted to do something for him. Mainly, besides buying him some things and tutoring him in his studies, there's very little else I can do. Liu Weiwei said with a mischievous look, Ningning, as long as you do as I say, Momo will definitely love you even more. However, this will require you to make a small sacrifice. Do you want to know? Mu Baining's face darkened. Gu Weiwei, stop keeping me in suspense and tell me. Okay, tell me. Then Liu Weiwei whispered something in Mu Baining's ear. Upon hearing Liu Weiwei's words, Mu Baning's pupils suddenly contracted. This. Will it work? Certainly. Time flies. The following day at 7 p.m. It was completely dark by then. It's already November, and the temperature has dropped sharply. The wind was biting cold, and Mu Omo was dressed very lightly today, so standing on the school playground was truly chilly. On such a cold day, there were far fewer people on the school playground. At this moment, Mu Omo was standing at the edge of the playground, cursing someone. That's right, it's Deng Shiki's grandson, Deng Jiabin. This kid gets out of school at 6 o'clock. Shanghai No. 4 High School is right next to Shanghai University of Science and Technology, very close by. He said he'd be here for training at 6:40 sharp, but that kid stood him up. 20 minutes had passed. Mu Omo looked at her watch and even considered calling the principal. 10 more minutes passed. Mu Omo had just taken out her phone, ready to call Deng Shiki. Just then, a teasing voice came from behind. "You're the sports coach my grandfather found for me." Upon hearing this, Mu Omo turned her head. What comes into view is a middle school student who is about 180 cm tall and has a muscular build. He doesn't look like a junior high school student at all. He has a lot of muscles in his chest and arms, and he looks like a trained fighter. No wonder he's a sports student. However, what annoyed Mu Omo was his arrogant attitude. They didn't take him seriously at all. At this moment, his expression became more serious. "Yes, it's me." Boring tilde, Deng Jiabin took out 500 yuan from his pocket and threw it directly at Mu Omo's face. "Here's 500 yuan. Please tell my grandpa that I trained on time today. P.S. I've revised it. Please give me some flowers. What you've been waiting for is coming soon, and I'll definitely take care of all the details." Chapter 153, Then I'll show you what real speed is. Mu Omo was completely dumbfounded when she heard Deng Jiabin's words. Why is this guy doing the same thing as Ningning did back then? He just threw 500 yuan in his face. Do you really think he needs 500 yuan? After throwing the money in Mu Omo's face, Deng Jiabin turned his head away immediately, showing no intention of staying any longer. "Stop right there," Mu Omo shouted, and at the same time, many students who were taking a walk nearby also turned their curious gazes in this direction. They love watching the drama unfold, especially these days when students are always getting involved. What's more, there's 500 yuan on the ground right now, and the students are all pointing and whispering about the red banknotes. "Hey, what's going on? Why did that classmate just throw 500 yuan in his face?" "I don't know, but that person looks like a high school student, so they probably aren't from our school, right? It must be someone from our school. I think I just heard someone say, who stole whose girlfriend." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure I really heard it." Unbeknownst to Mu Omo, some classmates had already started making jokes. There are all sorts of opinions. At the same time, Deng Jiabin, upon hearing Mu Omo's words, turned his head impatiently and pointed at Mu Omo, saying, "How can you be so ungrateful? I still need to go back and study. Is it because you don't have enough money? Then I'll give you some more." As he spoke, he continued to prepare to take out his money, looking every bit the rich second-generation lord. Stop. Mu Omo looked at Deng Jiabin and then said, "How about this? Since you're so capable, how about we have a competition? I was only training you because your grandfather asked me to. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother." Deng Jiabin's expression revealed a hint of disdain. He said, "Let's have a match, sure. What if you lose?" "If I lose, it means I'm incompetent and unworthy to teach you. But I won, so you'll have to train with me properly from now on." Upon hearing Mu Omo's words, Deng Jiabin readily agreed. "Okay, what do you want to compete in? Go ahead and tell me." Mu Omo looked around at the people. "If I say something, some people might say I'm bullying a little brother." Upon hearing this, Deng Jiabin thought for a moment. He has been practicing sports for a long time, and in fact, his sports performance in school is among the top 10. He was pampered from birth and never suffered any hardship. Even in sports competitions, he often achieved first or second place. To be honest, he really didn't take Mu Omo seriously. So he mentioned his current specialty, long-distance running. "How about we have a long-distance race? How about 5 kilometers? He excelled in long-distance running at school. That's right, he has great stamina. It only takes a little, over 30 minutes to run 5 kilometers. His classmates take about 40 to 60 minutes to run 5 kilometers. His speed was almost half again as fast as his classmates. This is what makes Deng Jiabin proud." Upon hearing this, Omo felt that Deng Xiaobin was still too young. They actually raced him for 5 kilometers. Having won a championship in the 5 km race, Deng Xiaobin would probably be astonished if he told him his results. Okay, pick up the 500 yuan on the ground. I'm going to run now. Hurry up and catch up with me. As she spoke, Omo ran towards the playground, showing no intention of picking up the 500 yuan on the ground. Upon seeing this, Deng Xiaobin frowned. Then he didn't pick up the money from the ground either, and ran towards the playground. The students around him looked puzzled. What's going on? Why are they just throwing away the money on the ground? So one of the students strode over and rushed straight ahead. Find money. At the same time, several other students ran over. At first, Omo didn't run very fast. He just wanted to see if Deng Xiaobin had any potential. Of course, the facts told Omo that this guy did have potential. As a junior high school student, he was indeed very fast at running. An ordinary person might not be able to outrun him. At this point, Deng Xiaobin had already overtaken him. As he overtook him, he said disdainfully, "Is that all? My God, you're too weak. You can't even run as fast as my classmate." Omo remained unmoved by Deng Xiaobin's sarcasm. He said to Deng Xiaobin's retreating figure, "Then I'll show you what real speed is." As he spoke, he immediately entered the sprint phase. When both legs exert force together, the strong muscles on the calves can be clearly seen. With a sudden leap forward, he shot off like an arrow released from a bow. Even as he brushed past Deng Xiaobin, he felt a gust of wind. He's truly a man as free as the wind. In just over 10 seconds, he had covered a distance of more than 100 meters. This scene left Deng Xiaobin completely dumbfounded. What's going on? He stared at Omo wide-eyed. This was really the speed of a normal person. Why did he feel that Omo was faster than world champion Liu Xiang? Depend on. Thinking of this, Deng Xiaobin gritted his teeth and, like Omo, ran out in one go. 2 minutes later, Omo was already a lap ahead of him, and he had even deliberately slowed down. Because Deng Xiaobin used a lot of strength, he ran out of energy after sprinting for 2 minutes. He was panting heavily at that moment, completely out of breath. Omo patted him on the shoulder from behind. Using the same mocking tone he had just used, he said, "Is that all? My God, you're so weak. You can't even run as fast as the girls in my class. You think you can get into a sports school? That's absolutely rubbish." Deng Xiaobin. He was startled. Damn, what kind of monster is this Omo? How did he suddenly appear from behind him? Could it be that I've already taken a lap ahead of him? Seeing Deng Xiaobin's face turn ashen, as if he'd swallowed a fly, Omo felt an insatiable thrill. Damn, serves you right for showing off. Serves you right for saying I'm weak. I'll let you throw 500 yuan in my face. He didn't waste any more words. All right, keep it up, little brother Sue. I'll continue now. I'll be waiting for you at the finish line. After saying that, Omo quickened her pace again. At this point, Deng Xiaobin was completely exhausted. The speed had to be slowed down, but Lion felt a surge of anger about losing to Omo. But there was nothing we could do. Could it be that I'm really going to lose to him today? Thinking of this, Deng Xiaobin shook his head. With a determined effort, he quickened his pace. Chapter 154, I just wanted to show off a little. I don't know how much time has passed. At this moment, Omo had already put on her headphones and started playing Joe Dada's new song. He slowed down, enjoying the cool night breeze and listening to music. It was a truly pleasant feeling. It was incredibly satisfying. In his memory, he seemed to have run 10 laps. That's 4,000 meters. A few more laps, and that will be enough. Of course, at this point he had no idea how many laps ahead Deng Xiaobin was. Just as he was about to continue listening to music while running, suddenly a classmate rushed past him from behind. The student said, "Holy crap, what's going on? Someone fainted while running." A classmate suggested, "It's probably because we haven't exercised for a long time, and then the amount of exercise suddenly increased, right?" Omo was slightly taken aback after hearing what her classmates said. Who's dizzy?" He turned his head curiously. Then he discovered that about 100 meters away from him, there was indeed someone lying unconscious on the ground. At this moment, the person was surrounded by 5 or 6 classmates, and it was impossible to see who had fainted. At this moment, Omo looked around the playground. Deng Xiaobin was nowhere to be found, so without thinking twice, he ran straight towards where his classmate had fainted. At this point, Omo had already realized that the classmate who had fainted might be Deng Xiaobin. Indeed, Deng Xiaobin ran very hard during this part of the race. 20 seconds later, Mu Xiaomo arrived at the crowd. By this time, more than a dozen students had gathered there. Mu Xiaomo ran over and said, "Make way, make way." Upon hearing the sound, some classmates had already made way for him. Pushing through the crowd, Mu Xiaomo discovered that the one who had fainted was indeed Deng Xiaobin. He must have been leaning forward. By now, his nose and chin were already scraped raw. "Not only here, but there are also many scars on my arms." Clearly, a classmate had turned him over, and Mu Xiaomo, upon seeing this, decisively went forward and hugged him. "I picked up this guy, who weighs over 160 pounds in a princess carry. He's annoying, but he's not a bad kid. He's like a spoiled brat who grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. Moreover, he is the grandson of Principal Deng Shiki. Good heavens, his grandson got into trouble on his very first day of training with him. He can't afford to take that responsibility." Thinking of this, Mu Xiaomo quickly carried him away from the scene. There is a small medical room on this side of the playground, which is specifically for handling emergencies such as heat stroke and bumps. Seeing that Mu Xiaomo had taken Deng Xiaobin away, the surrounding classmates dispersed. 5 minutes later, Mu Xiaomo carried Deng Xiaobin and ran into the infirmary. He had already woken up, but his mind was somewhat confused. What's going on?" "Don't speak," Mu Xiaomo said coldly. At this moment, a nurse came over, and Mu Xiaomo quickly said, "This student suddenly fainted while running. It's probably exhaustion shock." Upon hearing this, the nurse quickly opened a glass door to the ward. "Come on, put this student in this room." He nodded, went into the ward, and quickly placed Deng Xiaobin on the bed. At this moment, Deng Xiaobin felt that he had no strength left in his body. "But I clearly remember that I was running with Mu Xiaomo, and then I got so tired that I suddenly blacked out and passed out." The nurse called a doctor, and Dr. Liu looked at Deng Xiaobin lying on the bed and asked, "What's going on?" He quickly stood up and took out a first aid kit. "First, treat the wounds on her nose, chin, and elbow." Mu Xiaomo said, "I just had a long-distance race with him. Well, he was sprinting the whole time within the first 3,000 meters, and he suddenly passed out." Upon hearing this, Dr. Liu's expression turned somewhat helpless. He couldn't help but say, "Being able to sprint 3,000 meters is quite impressive. It's probably due to overwork causing low blood sugar. Judging from his muscles, there shouldn't be any major problems." Mu Xiaomo knew there was nothing seriously wrong, but this guy was running way too hard. She must have been provoked by his sarcasm. The doctor took out alcohol and, without saying a word, poured it directly onto Deng Xiaobin's wound. Suddenly, he let out a hissing sound. "Ouch, Tildu, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts." Mu Xiaomo, "Don't cry out in pain, you grown men." Upon hearing Mu Xiaomo's words, Deng Xiaobin's expression froze for a moment. His face was a little pale just now, but after arriving at the infirmary, his complexion became noticeably rosier. "Everything is fine now." Mu Xiaomo looked at him and said, "Little brother, you're running way too hard. There's absolutely no need to push yourself so hard. Besides, you're just a 16 or 17-year-old kid. None of your business." Deng Xiaobin rolled his eyes at him, then said, "I call this the spirit of never giving up, understand?" Compared to before, Deng Xiaobin's tone was noticeably better. Mu Xiaomo continued, "You can't joke around with your health. I'm just training you on your grandfather's orders. If something happens to you, how am I supposed to explain it to him? My family has plenty of money. It's none of your business." Okay, you're a rich kid, you're awesome." "Wrong, I'm a third-generation rich kid." Mu Xiaomo was too lazy to argue with him. Soon, the doctor finished treating his wound. The wounds weren't very big. There was a band-aid on my arm and another on the tip of my nose. As for his chin, it looked so ugly after the band-aid was applied that he didn't let the doctor put it on. This minor injury was nothing serious, and the doctor didn't take it seriously. "All right, the wound is almost treated. From now on, you should gradually increase your running intensity and not overexert yourself. You can rest here a little longer before heading back. Call me anytime if you need anything." After saying that, Dr. Liu left the room temporarily. Only Mu Xiaomo and Deng Xiaobin remained. At this moment, Deng Xiaobin glanced at Mu Xiaomo out of the corner of his eye. Then he said, "Although I don't like the look of you, but thank you for carrying me to the infirmary after I fainted." "You're too kind." As expected, Mu Xiaomo's previous thoughts came true. He is not a bad kid. Mu Xiaomo continued, "So you lost today's match." I know. Deng Xiaobin looked a little impatient. He said, "Starting tomorrow, I'll practice with you properly, okay?" Also, you are indeed very fast. I accept defeat wholeheartedly in this match. Muzai almost smiled upon hearing Deng Jiabin's words. Fine, I'll comply, but you just threw 500 yuan in my face, shouldn't you apologize? Upon hearing this, Deng Jiabin's face immediately darkened. Damn, it's my own 500 yuan. After noticing his expression, Mu Ziomo asked, Aren't you a rich kid? Why are you so upset about spending 500 yuan? Of course I feel sorry for you. Mu Ziomo, you feel sorry for me, but you're just throwing it in my face. I just wanted to show off a little. P.S. Xiaming is going to drastically revise the entire text. The new rule is that the male lead can only establish a romantic relationship with Professor Mu after graduating. Sob, sob. Please give me some flowers. I'm starting a major revision of the entire text tomorrow, which will obviously affect the plot. Chapter 155, Mu Ziomo. Can't I even watch a movie? Upon hearing Deng Jiabin's words, Mu Ziomo's face darkened. Wow, so throwing the money in his face was just a show-off. That way of showing off, he gives it full marks. But nowadays, nobody dislikes money, and those coins on the playground have probably already been picked up by other students. Thinking of this, Mu Ziomo chuckled and said, Your attempt to show off is a bit overpriced. I don't think you need to go back and check. The money has probably already been picked up by someone. Deng Jiabin's face darkened. Mu Ziomo was right. It's just like 500 yuan has gone down the drain. Deng Jiabin felt increasingly distressed the more he thought about it, so he simply stopped thinking about it. Anyway, the money is gone, and as for getting it back, it's almost impossible. After resting for a while, Mu Ziomo looked at Deng Jiabin and asked, How are you feeling now? Deng Jiabin nodded. He was indeed feeling much better at this point. I collapsed from exhaustion because I was running too hard. After learning that he was all right, Mu Ziomo didn't want to stay there any longer. Instead, they were preparing to leave. Wait here for me a moment. Mu Ziomo went outside and found Dr. Zhao, who had just treated Deng Jiabin's wounds, and asked how much it would cost. Because the wound wasn't very serious, and because he knew that this was Deng Shiki's grandson, I simply didn't ask for a single penny. After all, the principal has a lot of influence. After thanking him, he returned to his ward. When Deng Jiabin saw him return, he asked, Did you go to pay the medical bills? Mu Ziomo nodded upon hearing this. Well, I didn't charge you. You've rested enough, right? In that case, let's go back. You have class tomorrow morning, so get some rest tonight. Deng Jiabin nodded obediently. Since he was not as good as Mu Ziomo, he really needed to train with him properly. Deng Jiabin stood up, moved his wrists, and found that he was fine now. The two left the infirmary one after the other, and at that moment, Mu Ziomo turned her head to look at him. Your physique is indeed excellent. Train with me for the next month, and you will definitely see a significant improvement after that. Upon hearing this, Deng Jiabin asked, What if there isn't one? Mu Ziomo's face darkened, then she calmly said, There are no ifs. Be at the playground at 7 o'clock sharp tomorrow night. If you stand me up again, we'll see. After saying that, Mu Ziomo turned her head and walked towards her dormitory. Deng Jiabin frowned as he watched Mu Ziomo's retreating figure. I feel like Mu Ziomo is kind of handsome. How strange. He shook his head, and when he thought of his 500 yuan, he felt a pang of grievance again. Damn it, why did I have to act so cocky today? Well, my 500 yuan. Back in her dorm, Mu Ziomo took a deep breath. Call. Upon seeing him return, Huang Wengsu curiously focused his gaze on him. Brother Mo, you're back. How was the training tonight? Is the principal's grandson obedient? He liked to gossip like that, and before Mu Ziomo could answer, he checked the time and said, But it's not even 8:30 yet. Today's training time is a bit short. Mu Ziomo gave a rather indifferent, and didn't tell him what had happened that day. It's mainly meaningless. Seeing that Mu Zio was ignoring him, Huang Wengsu didn't continue the conversation. Mu Ziomo took off her clothes, took a shower, and went to bed. I ran 4 kilometers. Although I wasn't too tired, I still sweated quite a bit. Taking a shower feels so good. Just as Mu Ziomo connected her Bluetooth headset and was about to open the Quark browser, her phone suddenly rang. It was Deng Shiki. Mu Ziomo frowned and pressed the answer button on her phone. Deng Shiki's voice came through the earpiece. Hee. Ziomo, how was training today? Did Jiabin listen to you? Some principals. Mu Ziomo said gently. Jiabin did well today. It's over now. Since it was the first day, I didn't let him train for too long. That's good, that's good. Deng Shiki was quite pleased to hear the news. because Deng Xiaobin usually has a particularly bad temper. He was afraid that Deng Xiaobin wouldn't listen to Mu Xiaomo at first. But now that he heard what he said, he felt relieved. Deng Shiki continued, "In that case, we'll need to ask Xiaomo to train Jia Bin more in the future." "Don't worry, Principal," Mu Xiaomo said with certainty. "I also feel that Xiaobin is particularly talented. In just 1 month, his physique will show a significant improvement." Okay, then I won't bother you anymore. Get some rest." "You too, Tilda." Soon, Deng Shiki hung up the phone. Mu Xiaomo took a deep breath and prepared to open the Quark browser a second time. But then his phone rang again. He was immediately a little impatient, but when he saw that it was Mu Baining calling, Mu Xiaomo's expression quickly returned to calm. After answering the call, Mu Xiaomo said, "Hey, Ningning, what's up? Momo, how was training today?" Mu Baining was quite interested in this matter. The main reason is that she was noticed by the principal. He personally trained his grandson. "Wow, that's amazing." Upon hearing Mu Baining's magnetic voice, Mu Xiaomo said, "No problem. I must say the principal's grandson is indeed very capable." "Yeah," Mu Baining said. "Then Momo, you'd better take it seriously. Don't let the principal down." "Don't worry." Mu Xiaomo chuckled. "Although I haven't trained anyone else, I will train others according to the standards my father used to use on me." Hearing Mu Xiaomo's words, Mu Baining felt an even stronger urge to see her father. So Mu Baining continued, "Does your uncle have abs too, just like you?" "Well," Mu Xiaomo was taken aback. Indeed, his father also had a lot of muscles. His physique is incredibly impressive. Otherwise, he wouldn't have won a gold medal at the Olympics. "That's how it is." Hey. Mu Xiaomo chatted with Mu Baining for a while longer before hanging up the phone. "Once is never enough. I hope that no one will call me again this time when I open Quark browser." Mu Xiaomo's icon was just about to click on Quark. Just then another phone call came. It was from his sister, Mu Xiaoxi. Mu Xiaomo's face darkened. "This depend on. I can't even watch a movie." Chapter 156, Test Flights of Unmanned Aerial Vehicles. After finishing my call with Mu Xiaoxi, I tried to open the app for the 4th time, but I didn't receive a call. Mu Xiaomo finally fulfilled her dream of watching movies using Quark. Yes, it can already be described as a dream. Time flies, years slip by. More than a month has passed in the blink of an eye. The past month or so has been exceptionally uneventful. The system seemed to have crashed, and no tasks were being issued. Of course, he took out the medicine and made Deng Xiaobin drink a little bit every day. In this way, his physical condition will gradually improve. He also felt his physical condition getting better and better, and the relationship between the two had become almost like that of brothers. During the day, he studies drone delivery robots. Because she was quite busy, Mu Xiaomo asked Mu Baining for a month's leave. Now, what he learned in school doesn't seem to be as useful to him anymore. Of course, Mu Baining also strongly supports him. And so, Mu Xiaomo contacted the programmers who had written the robot and made a device that could receive takeout orders. Drones can accurately deliver takeout orders using different instrument numbers. December 10th, 3 p.m. Mu Xiaomo, Mu Baining, Huang Wenxu, Bai Yuntao, Du Yang, Liu Weiwei, as well as Principal Deng Shiki, Dean Liu Jai of the School of Information Engineering, and people from the canteen and the school's student life committee all appeared on the playground. Of course, Huang Wenxu, Bai Yuntao, and Du Yang were just there to watch the fun. There were many onlookers around, unaware of what had happened. But since the principal is here, something big must have happened. That's right, today is the day Mu Xiaomo comes to demonstrate his drone skills. In other words, it's a test flight. If his results pass your review, then the drone delivery system can be put into use. Mu Xiaomo has made full preparations. If it can be put into use, the food delivery receiving device can be installed in the entire dormitory of Magic Science University within 7 days. The school cafeteria will also use drones for delivery. As for shops outside the school, Mu Xiaomo will need to find ways to cooperate with them herself. Of course, this meant nothing to him. The shops outside the school aren't doing very well right now. If drones could be used for delivery, that would be a lifesaver for them. Mu Baining stood nervously beside Mu Xiaomo. Looking at the 5 drones, each over a meter in diameter in front of them, she frowned and asked, "Xiaomo, is this really going to work?" Because there were many people around, she didn't call out to Momo. Mu Xiaomo nodded. "Professor Mu, I'm not nervous at all. Why are you nervous?" Mu Xiaomo chuckled. At that moment, Deng Shiki walked over and said, Ziomo, can you demonstrate for us how to use a drone for delivery? Um, Mu Ziomo nodded and then stepped forward. 5 drones, that's quite a lot. He walked up to one of the drones and introduced it, saying, First, let me introduce drones to you all. Deng Shiki, Liu Jai, and the others all pricked up their ears and listened attentively to what Mu Ziomo had to say. Deng Shiki had told them about this a long time ago. The principal has to consider things that they must take seriously. Mu Ziomo introduced. I named this drone M1 Intelligent Delivery Robot. Don't ask me why I chose M1, because my surname is Mu. His humorous remark immediately made Deng Shiki laugh. Deng Shiki and Mu Ziomo are now very familiar with each other, and he sincerely admires Mu Ziomo for being able to make such a drone. Mu Ziomo continued. Then this drone has 3 GPS and Beidou navigation and positioning devices, 12 depth sensing cameras, and 11 sensors. Mu Ziomo turned her gaze to Mu Baining and Liu Jai. Professor Mu Dean Liu, you are knowledgeable in this area, and I believe you know how important sensors are to robots now. Liu Jai nodded. Could you elaborate? Can, Mu Ziomo said. The robot has touch sensors, geomagnetic sensors, inertial measurement units, AI interactive sensors, etc. Through the intelligent algorithm I developed independently, it is possible to identify buildings, flying objects, trees, pedestrians, etc. Of course, the automatic obstacle avoidance function goes without saying. Mu Baining was somewhat surprised after hearing Mu Ziomo's words. These are things you can only learn in your junior year of college. Moreover, the principles behind it are extremely complex. Is Mu Ziomo now being used in robots? That's fucking awesome. The others looked puzzled. In fact, they didn't understand many of the technical terms. So Mu Ziomo continued. In layman's terms, it means that SLAM can be used to create maps, which means that the robot has the ability to learn during the transportation process and becomes smarter and smarter, just like the human brain. Everyone nodded in confusion. Mu Ziomo. In other words, I can guarantee the stability of the machine, and it will almost never make a mistake when delivering meals. Anything can happen unexpectedly, and he couldn't guarantee that the robot wouldn't malfunction. Just then, a man wearing a white shirt and glasses asked, We think we understand what you mean, but the most critical problem with drones right now is their battery life. How long can your robot last on battery? Modern smart robots are extremely power-consuming, especially for those with a lot of sensors, and since this is an aircraft, battery life is indeed a big problem. Upon hearing the teacher's words, Mu Ziomo replied without changing her expression. As for energy, it was provided by my dad. When fully loaded, it can fly continuously for about 3 hours, and it achieves the effect of charging for 5 minutes and flying for 1 hour. Charging speed, it can be fully charged in just 15 minutes. Actually, the battery technology is provided by the system. It has a larger capacity battery and charges much faster. Of course, this technology can currently only be applied to drones. Therefore, flight time is really not a concern. Besides, he had already tested it before. It can indeed fly continuously for 3 hours. So he wasn't worried about that at all. The lunch delivery time is only about 3 hours, and continuous delivery can meet the needs of vendors. Upon hearing Mu Ziomo's words, everyone immediately disbelieved them. Drones are already quite heavy. How can this fly for 3 hours? Mu Ziomo. How about this? I'll fly a machine now and let it hover in the air, then we can test its actual flight time. P.S. I haven't revised the text yet because I don't know where to start. The current plan is to have Mu Ziomo graduate early and become a teacher at the Magic University. That's the only way. I'll have to delete the romantic relationship from the beginning, but it's a real headache. You don't need to go back and watch it anymore. It won't affect the plot. Finally, please give me some flowers. Xiaming will be eternally grateful. Chapter 157. Principal Deng Shiki agreed to his request. Testing flight time. After hearing his words, everyone nodded. Indeed, the data from the on-site tests proves everything. Many people were skeptical of Mu Ziomo's claim that she could fly for 3 hours. Of course, except for Mu Baining. At this moment, Mu Ziomo had already taken out her phone, connected it, and opened the dedicated app. After checking the drone systems, Mu Ziomo clicked the takeoff button. Buzz! The 4 propellers began to spin with a buzzing sound. Whether it's a remote-controlled airplane or a drone, the noise is extremely loud, and there's no way to solve this problem for the time being. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, the drone quickly flew to a position 10 meters in the air. Then it seemed to freeze, suspended in mid-air. Muzaya Omo looked up at the drone. We can start timing now. Since the drone isn't fully loaded, it should be able to fly for more than 3 hours. The weather isn't very good today. There's a light breeze of level 5 or 6. The drone flew in the sky without shaking at all. It's as stable as a rock. Muzaya Omo continued with the next project. Now, I will demonstrate to you the process of drone meal delivery in actual operation. Recently, Muzaya Omo made a small modification to the drone. Each meal delivery can deliver 6 meals, which are then automatically placed into a storage cabinet fixed to the dormitory window. The principle is quite simple. There is a movable baffle under the storage box. Once it reaches the designated location, the barrier will retract, and then the takeout food in the storage compartment will be transferred to the storage cabinet. The whole process takes only a few seconds, and then the student can take the items out of the storage cabinet. The operation was very simple, so Muzaya Omo demonstrated it to everyone. He prepared several different kinds of takeout orders in advance, then placed them in the drone's storage compartment, and finally operated the drone using his mobile phone. Enter the number of the storage cabinet to select which compartment's takeout order to place inside. During the demonstration, Muzaya Omo also showed off the drone's obstacle avoidance function. The drone's performance was exactly as he expected. Of course, the drone's performance today completely impressed everyone present. 2 hours later, Principal, that concludes today's demonstration. I believe you now have a better understanding of drone delivery. Deng Shiki took a deep breath. After learning about this drone today, his heart was already pounding with excitement. The main point is that he had promised to train his grandson well and help him achieve significant results within a month, which he has already accomplished. Moreover, he spent more than a month studying this drone so diligently. At this moment Deng Shiki spoke up. I feel good. After saying that, he turned his gaze to the others. Everyone, what do you think of Zyro Mo's idea? Actually, I feel like we could let Zyro Mo give it a try. In this way, it can become a unique feature of our Magic Science University. The teacher from the Student Life Committee turned pale when she heard Deng Shiki's words. What are the unique features of the University of Magic Science and Technology? Why don't you say that this will make students lazier and affect their health? However, how could he possibly dare to confront the principal? If I argue with the principal, I'll lose my job. So the teacher from the Student Life Committee laughed and said, "Haha, I think it's good too. Let's listen to the principal and give it a try." Oh yeah, I think I could give it a try too. Deng Shiki was in a good mood after hearing what everyone said. He turned his head and looked at Liu Jai. Dean Liu, how are you feeling? I feel great. Liu Jai's face darkened. Isn't what you said obvious? Since the principal has spoken, what else can we say? Whether you agree or disagree, you have to agree. Okay. Deng Shiki nodded in satisfaction after hearing this, and then turned his gaze to Muzaya Omo. Zaya Omo, how many drones did you prepare in total? More than 30 units. Muzaya Omo said quite decisively. That's right, it's more than 30 units. The cost of this thing isn't particularly high. It's mainly because it was disassembled and the parts were bought and then manufactured by a contract manufacturer. The cost of a drone is only about 7,000 yuan. Of course, he had already figured out the specific pricing method. If all 30-plus drones can be put into use, and the response is particularly positive, he plans to promote this technology globally. More than 30 units. Deng Shiki was taken aback when he heard Muzaya Omo's words. Wow, I didn't expect they had prepared so much. That's right. Muzaya Omo nodded. Because our Magic Science University has 3 canteens, I plan to put these 30 units into the school canteens first. Okay. Deng Shiki nodded. Muzaya Omo's actions would boost the school cafeteria's economy. The school takes a cut from this, which means he'll pocket a lot more money. Seeing Deng Shiki's expression, Muzaya Omo asked, So, Principal, you've agreed to let me promote drones at the school, right? Certainly. He nodded, and Muzaya Omo was overjoyed. In fact, he had already made certain plans. For example, he plans to expand his Hello Kitty Cat Cafe. Then, they directly monopolized the milk tea delivery business within the school. This means that drones will not be provided to other milk tea shops on campus. They are therefore unable to use the food delivery service. Although this tactic is a bit ruthless, it's nothing compared to the potential benefits. Muzaya Omo quickly replied, Thank you for your trust, Principal. I will prepare well. Good. At this moment, everyone looked up at the drone that was as steady as a rock, still hovering in the air. It has been hovering in the air for more than 2 hours, and the phone shows that the drone still has 50% battery left. Since everything was all right by then, Musayomo lowered the plane. He didn't emphasize how powerful the drone was anymore, since Deng Shiki had already promised him. Soon, the crowd dispersed, and Musayomo immediately set up the program to have the drone fly to the dormitory building first. He completely ignored his 3 eldest sons, and instead walked alongside Mu Baining. Musayomo spoke first. Ningning, it seems my efforts over the past month have not been in vain. From now on, all the school cafeterias will have to pay me, hee. If a company provides drone services to a cafeteria, the cafeteria will have to pay them a delivery fee. The delivery fee wasn't expensive either. Musayomo was thinking of 1 yuan per order. In other words, he earned 6 yuan for each meal delivered by a drone. Prices can be set lower at schools. If you're outdoors, you can set it to a higher level. At this moment, Mu Baining, seeing Musayomo's smug expression, couldn't help but say, "Look how happy you are." Chapter 158, Promoting Drone Technology Worldwide. How could I not be happy? Musayomo turned her head to look at Mu Baining's profile, and then said, "Don't you know your fiancé has a very grand plan?" Upon hearing this, Mu Baining frowned and asked, "A very grand plan? What plan?" "It's about promoting drone technology all over the world." Upon hearing this, Mu Baining's heart skipped a beat. Indeed, with the food delivery industry booming, using drones instead of human delivery would greatly improve delivery efficiency. Of course, setting up this industry is no small matter, and there will definitely be various difficulties along the way. However, once the plan is completed, it will definitely shock the whole world. Seeing Musayomo's confident demeanor, Mu Baining said, "Let's think about this later, Momo. Final exams are coming up soon. You should be thinking about how not to fail." Upon hearing this, Musayomo realized that winter vacation was just around the corner. Now, China has standardized the holiday schedule for university students. That's the end of each year. That's right, it's December 31st. Then the start of the school year is the 16th day of the first lunar month. The winter break is quite long. Today is December 10th, which means there are only 20 days left until the holiday. This week is already review week, and the next 14 days will be exam week. There are no classes now. Most students would spend all their time in the school library, reviewing and reviewing again. Even Huang Wenxu and Bai Yuntao, who often played games in the dormitory, gave up gaming and went to the library during the day and studied until midnight at night. Musayomo waved her hand. "Ningning, you really underestimate me. Have you forgotten the scene when you asked me that question?" Upon hearing Musayomo's words, Mu Baining recalled what happened that night. Ask Musayomo a question, and this guy can answer anything as if he's swallowed 4 years' worth of college textbooks. "So you're very confident about the final exam?" "Of course." Musayomo nodded. Mu Baining couldn't possibly disbelieve Musayomo at this point, so she nodded and said, "Then you still need to review. After all, there are still compulsory courses like college English, advanced mathematics, and ideological and political education. Rest assured." At this moment, Musayomo said, "By the way, Ningning, let's also launch a special affordable set meal at the Wales Western Restaurant." The Welsh restaurant has now entered a stable period. Unlike the initial hype surrounding Huji, it hasn't become an overnight sensation. Currently, it brings in a net profit of 30,000 to 50,000 yuan per day for the store. Mu Baining hasn't been to the shop for a long time, instead focusing on her teaching work. Mu Baining asked, "Why are you suddenly launching such a special and affordable meal deal?" "Because of drones." Musayomo laughed and said, "No way, Ningning, our shop is so popular right now. You don't want to use drones to make some money, do you?" Mu Baining was taken aback. "You mean using drones to deliver food?" "Right." He nodded and Mu Baining continued, "Western food delivery isn't very common these days. The question is, do people actually order Western food delivery?" Musayomo, "The world is full of wonders. As long as we can bring the price down, we'll definitely find it. How about this? We launch a delivery package exclusively for college students that uses drones for delivery. That should work." Mu Baining nodded after hearing this. Although she didn't know how effective it would be, she was still willing to give it a try. Then I'll make the arrangements. He's a small business owner now, after all. Some things are within your control." Mu Baining nodded. At this moment, the two of them had reached the fork in the road. Seeing Mu Baining dressed like a dumpling, Mu Omo quickly waved to her. Then Ningning, you should go back first. It's too cold outside. Go back and warm up. Okay, you two Tilda bye-bye Momo. Wave. It's been really cold outside lately. Watching Mu Baining happily walk away, Mu Omo took a deep breath. Next, we need to contact the school to install the food delivery receiving device as soon as possible. Furthermore, Mu Omo discovered that the app on her phone had a bug, which she needed to fix as soon as possible. Back at the dormitory entrance, the students all looked up with great curiosity at the 5 drones in the sky. Mu Omo used her phone to launch the drone, and then tossed it into the dormitory supervisor's room. The dormitory supervisor's room is quite large. He had temporarily placed the drone there before. After tidying up, Mu Omo went straight upstairs. Pushing open the dormitory door, I found that my 3 older brothers had already returned. All 3 of them were studying hard. Although Huang Wengsu and Bai Yuntao liked playing games, they were surprisingly serious in class. There's no way around it. It's hard not to pay attention in Professor Mu's class. Of course, what's giving Huang Wengsu and Bai Yuntao the biggest headache right now is advanced mathematics. Although I am a science and engineering student, advanced mathematics is really too difficult. Plus, I kept dozing off during advanced mathematics class. Seeing Mu Omo return, Huang Wengsu and Bai Yuntao felt like they had grasped a lifeline. Huang Wengsu came straight over, knelt down with a thud, and hugged Mu Omo's legs, saying, "Brother Mo, no. Godfather, please teach the kid advanced mathematics. If I fail advanced math, I'll have to retake it, and I don't want to have to take so many classes next semester." Recently, Huang Wengsu has been begging Mu Omo to teach him advanced mathematics. When he's in a good mood, he'll teach him. When he's in a bad mood, he'll make him call for his dad to play. Of course, Huang Wengsu is a person with dignity, and he would never call someone dad. Instead, he called out, "Godfather." Anyway, the meaning is roughly the same. Seeing Huang Wengsu's arrogant attitude, Mu Omo stretched her legs and said, "Get lost. He's your godfather when things are tough, but your son when things are fine. Get lost, get lost." I was wrong, I was wrong. Huang Wengsu showed no sign of letting go. He continued, "Brother Mo, no dad, today's practice questions were really difficult. Without you, I'm really going to fail my course. There's a bug in the system. I'll teach you after I fix it, okay?" At this point, he could no longer bear to watch. Upon hearing his words, Huang Wengsu immediately stood up. Then a sweet smile appeared on her face. "Okay, okay, Brother Mo, I love you, come on, give me a kiss, Tilda." Then Huang Wengsu leaned in and kissed him on the cheek. "Mu Omo, Bai Yuntao, Du Yangs, good heavens." Bai Yuntao looked wary. "You failed to catch Zhu Pengshuang and then you became gay." P.S. Xiaming will be starting a new book soon. This is just a backup plan. It won't affect the updates of this one. I'm going to work on the cover now. Please give me some flowers. Good night, everyone. Chapter 159, Graduating Early. Upon hearing Bai Yuntao's words, Huang Wengsu's face immediately darkened. That's right, he didn't manage to win over Zhu Pengshuang, the girl who added him on WeChat last time. The main thing is that the 2 of them have already gone out to eat, and even Zhu Pengshuang took the initiative to let him hold her hand. But I don't know what Huang Wengsu was thinking. He actually said that they haven't confirmed their relationship yet, and that they can't hold hands. After spending 2 more days together, Zhu Pengshuang said that they weren't a good match and should just be friends. Because of this, Huang Wengsu was in a state of emotional distress for 3 days. Of course, it only lasted 3 days. Huang Wengsu is bad at everything, but he has a great attitude. One second he's thinking about a younger sister. The next second he sees another, prettier younger sister in black stockings, and the previous sister is forgotten. He said that with so many beautiful women in the world, there must be one who is blind and will fall for him. That's a valid point. At this moment, Mu Omo was kissed by Huang Wengsu, and she immediately kicked him away. "Get lost, I might be too busy today. Let's talk about advanced mathematics tomorrow." No, Brother Mo, you know how difficult advanced mathematics is." Mu Omo was too lazy to argue with him, so she sat down in the chair and opened her laptop. "Start fixing his program." Seeing that Mu Omo didn't pay attention to him immediately, Huang Wengsu didn't bother her any further. At this moment, Mu Omo was unaware that the video of her testing the drone on the playground this afternoon had already been posted online by other students. Netizens were shocked after seeing the video. What is this thing? Using drones to deliver food. That's too much torture. Meanwhile, some delivery drivers suddenly felt a sense of crisis after seeing the video. Artificial intelligence will eventually replace human labor, and if these things enter the market, then people will lose their jobs. At that moment, at the headquarters of Imei in Shanghai, a manager happened to see the video. Wang Dakyang frowned as he watched Mu Xiaomo demonstrate how drones deliver food in the video. This surprised him greatly. They've been researching this thing for years. However, current technology is limited. If drones are used for delivery, a single charge allows for only one delivery. Moreover, the cost is too high. Drones also pose significant risks and safety hazards when flying in the air. But after watching this video, it seems that Mu Xiaomo in the video has already solved this problem. Shanghai University of Science and Technology, Wang Dakyang murmured, even he felt a strange sense of crisis. He decided to observe for a few days first. If possible, we must contact the student in the video as soon as possible to try to reach a cooperation agreement. This era is changing so fast. 10 days later, buzz tilde, whoosh. At noon, several drones hovered in the air above the campus of Shanghai University of Science and Technology. The drone departs from the cafeteria's drone exit and flies to the student dormitory. Currently, the drone delivery service has been tested. The school selected 3 teaching buildings as pilot projects. The purpose was to test the stability and reputation of the Muxayamo drone. Of course, it has an exceptionally good reputation. Many students are currently focused on their studies and have no time to eat in the cafeteria. With drone delivery, they have saved a lot of time. Of course, the fact that drone delivery services are only available in 3 dormitory buildings has caused dissatisfaction among many students. Seeing such positive results, the school has decided to extend the drone service to the entire campus during the winter break. Momo, with such a great reputation for drone sales, shouldn't you give an acceptance speech? At noon, Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baining took a walk on campus. Last night, Shanghai was blanketed in a heavy snowfall. So today, many students came out to build snowmen and have snowball fights. Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baining were both bundled up tightly, wearing thick Canada Goose down jackets. There was no way around it. They were both very sensitive to the cold. Mu Baining hunched her shoulders, exhaling cold air as she spoke, almost unbearably cold. But with Momo by his side, he could endure even the coldest weather outside. Upon hearing her words, Mu Xiaomo said, "Is there any acceptance speech? If I had to give an acceptance speech, I should thank Professor Mu for your guidance." Upon hearing his words, Mu Baining said, "Momo, I haven't been able to help with the drone research at all. But meeting you is my greatest fortune. If I hadn't met Ningning, I definitely wouldn't have achieved what I have today." Mu Bainings, why has Momo suddenly become so greasy? Seeing Mu Xiaomo's affectionate expression, Mu Baining couldn't help but reach out and touch his forehead. "Do you have a fever today?" "Just kidding, Tilda." Mu Xiaomo chuckled. "However, with this business, we won't have to worry about the cost of baby formula in the future." Mu Baining snorted. "Momo, you're overthinking things again." Just then, Mu Baining suddenly remembered something. Moreover, it is a very important matter. She asked, "By the way, Momo, there's something I need to ask for your opinion on." Mu Xiaomo turned to look at her. "Opinion? Do you want to know how many children we should have in the future? If you're willing, we can have a whole football team." Upon hearing this, Mu Baining's face darkened. "What is all this?" She said, "Momo, what nonsense are you talking about? The principal approached me yesterday. He wanted to ask for your opinion." "Principal?" Mu Xiaomo was taken aback and quickly asked, "What is it? Ningning, don't keep it a secret." He said, "Your drone technology is now among the most advanced in China." Mu Xiaomo nodded. "That's absolutely right. After all, it was the technology he received from the system." Mu Baining continued, "So, he wants you to graduate early so that you can start a new major for the sake of Magic University and the field of science and technology. Give them a lesson." Upon hearing this, Mu Xiaomo was shocked and froze on the spot. "Graduating early. This, my 4 years of university life. Just like that, it's over." Upon hearing this news, Mu Xiaomo took a deep breath. Before he went to university, he never imagined that he would be able to activate a system, not to mention pursuing the counselor. Seeing Mu Xiaomo standing there in astonishment, Mu Baining also spoke her mind. "The principal just mentioned this to me casually, but Momo, you can consider it. Actually, I feel that with your current knowledge base, continuing to read books, well, it doesn't seem to be very effective. P.S. Dear readers, you have to graduate early to be able to date. Sorry, this is the only way I can write it." Chapter 160. I wonder what my classmates think now that I've become a professor. As she said this, Musayomo frowned. What she said didn't seem to be without merit. Of course, graduating early can indeed earn you a bachelor's degree, but it should take 4 years to obtain. Before going to university, he made a promise with his sister that he would go to a school for graduate studies. Of course, plans can't keep up with changes, that much is certain. Just as Musayomo was having some trouble, the system's voice suddenly came through. Ding, congratulations, host, you have activated the choose one of two option. Option 1, agree to graduate early and become a professor at Magic University, rewarded with 20 million RMB in startup funding, a 1,000 square meter industrial park in Shanghai, and a 4-story office building. Option 2, refuse to graduate early and continue your studies. There will be no reward, and you will waste 3 years of your youth. Note the host can only live to be 100 years old. Musayomo was stunned. What the hell, are you kidding me? Continuing to study, wasting 3 years of my youth. He can only live to be 100. 100 years old is more than enough for a person. Anyway, my health won't be good when I get old. However, upon reflection, he realized that since acquiring knowledge about robots, attending classes had indeed become less interesting. Aside from attending Mu Baining's classes, he slept soundly in all other classes. The subjects like ideological and moral cultivation and advanced mathematics were also very simple. Then the reward for option 1 was just too tempting. With 20 million yuan in startup capital, a 1,000 square meter industrial park in Shanghai, and a 4-story office building. These are things he might not be able to produce even after several years of hard work. Given this choice, who the hell would choose option 2? Musayomo's expression turned serious, and he asked, Ning, did the principal really say that? Mu Baining nodded. Yes, the principal just said that. What he means is that you should train more talents, and he can give you the graduation certificate directly. Hearing this, Musayomo was somewhat surprised. Goodness, they're even giving out graduation certificates. Mu Baining continued. He also said that you can participate in many scientific research projects in the future, and if you can achieve success in these fields, you can directly obtain a doctoral degree. Hearing this, Musayomo swallowed hard. Ning, you've made me want to fall for you. The system's voice continued. Please make a choice, host. Option 1. This time, Musayomo made her choice without hesitation. However, wasting 3 years of one's youth is outrageous. Seeing Musayomo's expression, Mu Baining chuckled. If you're interested, you can consider it. Because of their somewhat special status at this time, she hoped that Musayomo could become their teacher so that they could be together in front of everyone. Okay, I'll contact the principal later. Musayomo smiled and nodded. If he really did that, then next semester, he would be a teacher here. Then he also has to teach the students in his current class. Goodness, what will the students think when they see that he is the professor teaching them? At this moment, Musayomo suddenly looked forward to this event. The two chatted as they walked. Since they had just finished eating, Musayomo took Mu Baining directly to her dormitory building. The surrounding area was covered in snow that had not yet melted, and even at the entrance, the dormitory supervisor had built a small snowman. Mu Baining smiled and said, Now that you know Principal Deng Shiki, contact him if you have any ideas. Good. Musayomo nodded. Then I'll go back and contact him later. Ning's face is all red from the cold. Hurry up and go upstairs. Okay, bye, she chuckled. You should go back and rest too. It's cold outside. Don't catch a cold. The holidays are almost here. If you catch a cold when you get home, you'll be in big trouble. Okay, Ning. Because of the cold weather, Mu Baining did not stay here for long. He took a deep breath as he watched her disappear at the end of the corridor. He murmured, being a professor, won't the pressure be a bit too much? Of course, Musayomo would not reject the professor. If I can become a professor at the Magic University, I can date in front of everyone. Of course, the most important thing is to start a business. He can use the resources provided by the system to start a very large company. That's right, it's a company that makes drone deliveries. Nobody dislikes money, and he's no exception. I don't want to think about it anymore. Musayomo shook his head and quickly walked towards his dormitory. He had made up his mind. He would contact Deng Shiki as soon as he got back. Ask them what exactly happened. 20 minutes later, Musayomo pushed open the door. Because his dormitory was a pilot site for drones, all 3 of his older sons opted to order takeout. Upon entering the dormitory, Huang Wenxu had just taken 3 meals out of the insulated storage room. Upon seeing Mu Omo return, Huang Wengsu greeted him with a smile. Heh, brother Mo, you're back. Have you eaten? He nodded. I've already eaten. Don't worry about me. You guys eat first. I'm going to make a phone call. Oh, Tilda. Huang Wengsu nodded without giving it much thought. At the same time, Mu Omo had already taken out her phone and found Deng Shiki. It took about 10 seconds for Deng Shiki to answer the phone. He said with a smile, Omo, has your advisor already told you about graduating early? He knew that Mu Omo had called him about this matter. Mu Omo hummed in agreement and then said, yes, it's about this. Deng Shiki asked, so what are your thoughts? Since he had already agreed to the system's request in advance, what other thoughts could he possibly have? Of course I agree. I've thought about it carefully, and I feel that what you said, Principal Deng, makes a lot of sense. Mu Omo scratched his head and Deng Shiki laughed. Haha, okay so. You mean you agree? Mu Omo didn't say much. He said, but it's really not my thing to be a professor at the Magic Science University. Of course, it's not just me. If the students see that their teachers are the same students from before next semester, I believe they won't be used to it. Hearing Mu Omo's words, Deng Shiki said, that's true, but now, who in the entire Magic Science University doesn't know your name? Upon hearing this, Mu Omo realized that indeed, since developing this drone, his name had become widely known throughout the Magic Science University. Deng Shiki continued, don't worry, there's still some work to be done. I'll introduce you to the students later. If you're interested, come to my office at 4 p.m. and we can discuss this in detail. Okay, I'll definitely be there. Chapter 161, What the Heck? Mu Omo is going to be a professor at the Magic University. Mu Omo hung up the phone very quickly. Meanwhile, Huang Wengsu, Bai Yuntao, and Du Yang, who had just spoken, naturally heard what he said. What? Mu Omo is going to be a professor at the Magic University. No, how did he, a student just like them, become a professor? Some sign, letter FF9F, de letter FF9F, Japanese letter. Surprise. That's amazing. The three of them had expressions of utter disbelief on their faces. Huang Wengsu couldn't help but lean closer and asked, it wasn't Brother Mo. Who did you call just now? Who else could it be but Deng Shiki, the principal of our Magic Science University? Upon hearing this, Huang Wengsu couldn't help but ask, what do you want with him? Well, Mu Omo sighed and said in a rather Versailles-like tone, my drone technology has caught the eye of Principal Deng Shiki. Then he said there was no point in me continuing my studies at the University of Magic Science. So, he wanted me to be a professor at the school. So I'm a bit conflicted. Holy crap. Bai Yuntao shouted a national treasure, then said, Brother Mo, you don't agree, do you? Mu Omo didn't choose to hide it from his roommate. After all, if he did, it would only be for a little over 2 months. Bai Yuntao's face darkened. So you mean you graduated early? Yes. Mu Omo's expression became more serious. Principal Deng Shiki had already said that he would let me graduate early and would give me my degree certificate and graduation certificate ahead of schedule. Upon hearing this, Bai Yuntao's eyes were filled with envy. Of course, considering that Mu Omo couldn't enjoy university life, he also felt a little sorry for him. From now on, I'll be a corporate slave at Magic Science University, Sai. But he knew that Mu Omo's graduation in this special way would definitely bring her all sorts of benefits in the future. At this moment, Huang Wengsu suddenly became very calm. Brother Mo, if I'm not mistaken, will you be replacing Professor Mu and giving us lectures? He shook his head. Deng Shiki hasn't told him these things yet. It's possible. I only found out about this today, so it's not certain yet. Depend on. Huang Wengsu chuckled. Actually, this is pretty good too. Brother Mo, you're our professor for our major course, and our advisor is also your girlfriend, so. Huang Wengsu grinned mischievously. You could easily guess what this guy was thinking. Mu Omo rolled her eyes at him. Those who are destined to fail will still fail. Grass. Huang Wengsu glared at Mu Omo. Brother Mo, we've been brothers for half a year. This is a bit unfair of you. I don't call the shots at the entire Magic Science University. Besides, your grades are already pretty good. Why are you worried about failing any courses? Hearing this, Huang Wengsu scratched his head. That's right, my grades are not bad at all. However, this can be considered as having multiple insurances. Mu Omo. Getting back to the point, next semester, I won't be able to stay in this dorm with my brothers anymore. From now on, we'll be teacher and student in class, and father and son outside of class. Huang Wengsu, Du Yang, Bai Yuntao, Bai Yuntao's face darkened. Brother Mo, you'll be a professor at our Magic Science University from now on, so watch your words. Oh. Mu Zaya Omo chuckled. All right, brothers, I'm going to take a nap first. I need to go talk to Principal Deng Shiki about this afternoon. If you're free tonight, I'd like to treat you to hot pot. How about Hedi Lao? Heh, punishment. All three nodded with smiles on their faces. How can you refuse a free meal offered to you? Then Mu Zaya Omo stopped wasting words with them and lay down on the bed. But when he looked up at the ceiling, he couldn't fall asleep, tossing and turning for some reason. Being a professor felt a bit surreal to Mu Zaya Omo. As for his roommates, they were indeed a little reluctant to part with him. After all, feelings have developed between them. He shook his head, feeling he was overthinking things. After setting an alarm and playing some soothing music, Mu Zaya Omo finally fell asleep. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Mu Zaya Omo went to Deng Shiki's office. I discussed with him the matter of his early graduation. After a conversation, he was somewhat surprised, because he not only has to teach the students in robotics class 1 and 2, but he also has to participate in some scientific research competitions. In today's society, there is no shortage of researchers, but there is a great shortage of experienced researchers. Of course, the school will cover all his expenses after the winter break. As for salary, it is an annual salary of 500,000. This number is not low, considering it's only his first year in office. If I continue to hold this position, my salary will definitely keep increasing. Deng Shiki also knew that Mu Zaya Omo was not short of money, because he had become a professor and had such a good relationship with the principal that he could easily do some other side jobs at the school in the future. That wasn't what he wanted. Rather, it was Deng Shiki who told him, because he was afraid that Mu Zaya Omo would disagree. His story hasn't spread yet, but if people in society find out, they'll definitely offer him a high salary to poach him. The two chatted until 6 o'clock before Deng Shiki finished speaking. He said, "Okay, we've been talking for quite a while now, you should go back and eat." Mu Zaya Omo nodded. Then, shall I come to pick up my graduation certificate on the day winter vacation starts? Okay, sure, Deng Shiki nodded. Just come over when the time comes. Okay, then I won't bother you any longer. I'll head back now. Go back now, the roads are slippery in the snow. Be careful on the road, hee. Okay, Principal, you don't need to see me off. Mu Zaya Omo quickly came outside. At that moment, snowflakes began to fall from the sky again. Mu Zaya Omo looked up at the sky. There were only a few days left until the final exams and winter vacation. He just found out that after all the students are on holiday, he will still have to work at the school for a few days. Then I can take Mu Baining home to meet my parents. Starting today, he is no longer a student at Magic University. But this is fine too. Didn't the system say that? Continuing to study would be a waste of 3 years of youth. How many 3-year periods of youth do we have in our lives? He walked towards his dormitory building, still owing his roommates a meal. Just then Mu Zaya Omo's phone suddenly rang. That's right, it's Mu Baining. Looking at the scrolling text of Mu Baining's name on the screen, Mu Zaya Omo took a deep breath. The principal wanted to see him, and he told Mu Baining about it. Holding the phone to her ear, Mu Zaya Omo whispered, "Hello, Ning Ning. Hey, Momo, what did the principal say to you today?" "What else is there to say? It's about my early graduation, of course." "So, what did Momo say to the principal?" "Of course, I'd like to be your colleague. P.S. If this book can be saved, Xiaming will write more about married life. That means Mu Zaya Omo has become a stay-at-home dad. Hee tilde. In addition, there can be no progress in the strategy or any increase in affection level. The text also needs to be revised." I threw up. Question, how many children do you think Mu Zaya Omo should have? Chapter 162, Congratulations, Zaya Omo, on your successful graduation. Time flies. In the past few days, Mu Zaya Omo and his classmates have finished their exams. After the teachers finished their teaching duties, it was time for winter vacation to begin. The new year begins on January 1st at 7:30 a.m. Besides Mu Zaya Omo, Huang Wenxu, Bai Yuntao, and Du Yang all wore thick down jackets, and the three of them had already packed their luggage. At this moment, Huang Wenxu suddenly came over and hugged Mu Zaya Omo, choking back tears as he said, Moji, to be honest, I'm really going to miss you. I didn't expect the semester to go by so quickly. It's over just like that. The main thing is that none of the three of us have changed, but you've transformed into a university professor." Mu Zaya Omo looked at Huang Wenxu, who was choking with sobs, and patted him on the shoulder. "How come you haven't changed much? You've changed a lot, okay?" Uh, Huang Wenxu didn't understand Mu Xiaomo's words, so Mu Xiaomo explained. In the 6 months since I've known you, you've gained another 20 pounds, and you've managed to meet with Five Fingers Girl 5 times a day, breaking the record. Upon hearing Mu Xiaomo's words, Huang Wenxu's face immediately fell. Holy crap, is this even human language? Seeing his face, which looked like he'd swallowed a fly, Mu Xiaomo chuckled. But I was just kidding. Actually, everyone has made great progress in the past 6 months. At least, I didn't fail any courses. That's right, I didn't fail any courses. The school released the final exam results very quickly. All the results came out last night. Of course, none of the people in the dormitory failed any courses. Du Yang said, Brother Mo, is it because you really can't think of any good points about the three of us that you said we didn't fail any courses? Shut up, you see through it, but don't say it. Mu Zai almost smiled and said, all right, although you've been slacking off for half a year, I believe you'll definitely turn things around next semester. Huang Wenxu managed to find a female senior in black stockings to be his girlfriend. Bai Yuntao can do it 10 times in one night. Du Yang, I wish you win $1 million in the lottery. Stop talking. Du Yang was taken aback. Actually, Brother Mo, the three of us are really going to miss you. Mu Xiaomo was stunned for a moment, as if he was willing to part with him. But it's not like we'll never see each other again. He said, it's not like we'll never see each other again. At worst, I'll just sleep here again next semester. It's all the same. Also, didn't I say that from now on we'll be teacher and student in class and father and son outside of class? Telugu te ta inus, Telugu te ta inus, Sigma. Upon hearing this, Du Yang's face darkened. Get lost, you idiot. You've ruined all the atmosphere I worked so hard to create. Depend on. Mu Xiaomo's expression turned serious. Who doesn't like funny guys? Like I said, it's not like we'll never see each other again, so don't worry about it. Du Yang stepped forward and hugged Mu Xiaomo. That's true, it's not like we'll never see each other again. We'll continue to drink together, brothers. Rest assured. Afterwards, Mu Xiaomo hugged Du Yang and Huang Wenxu, and then they pulled their suitcases and left the dormitory. Watching the three people's backs, Mu Xiaomo suddenly felt a pang of sadness. Hi Tilda, I don't want to think about it anymore. Just after the three figures disappeared around the corner of the corridor. Her phone rang. I received a message on WeChat. Yes, it was Mu Baining who sent it. It was a voice message. After Mu Xiaomo clicked, her voice came through the phone's speaker. Momo, I'm already in the principal's office. You can come and pick up your graduation certificate now. Mu Xiaomo's hands moved rapidly across it, coming right away. Then he put on the down jacket that Mu Baining had bought for him. Then he rushed out in a hurry. He has already discussed his early graduation with his parents. Of course, his parents also unconditionally supported him. Not only did his father support him, he was also extremely happy. My son studied for half a year and learned all the courses required for 4 years of university. That's absolutely amazing. It would be so prestigious to tell everyone. He was even directly promoted by the university president to become a professor at Shanghai University of Science and Technology. Who gets such treatment? A dozen minutes later, he ran into Deng Shiki's office. There were 3 people in the office at that time. Principal Deng Shiki, Dean Liu Jai, and his advisor Mu Baining. The room still smelled of books, and all 3 of them stood up when they saw Mu Xiaomo enter. Deng Shiki spoke first. Haha, Xiaomo is here. Yes, I'm here, Principal. Mu Xiaomo said with great respect. Hello, Dean. Hello, Professor Mu. After greeting the others, he sat down on the sofa. Principal Deng Shiki didn't immediately bring up the matter of early graduation, but instead asked, So, have all your roommates left school? He nodded. They just left. They're probably already on the bus. Deng Shiki smiled and said, It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. However, Xiaomo, you will be staying here for 7 more days. Remember to tell your parents. It's already been discussed with them. Haha, good. Deng Shiki turned his gaze to Dean Liu Jai. Dean Liu, in that case, bring out Xiaomo's graduation certificate and degree certificate. Okay, Tilda. For a student, both the graduation certificate and the degree certificate are extremely important. Therefore, the school keeps them very carefully. Liu Jai opened a safe and found the graduation certificate and degree certificate from Shanghai University of Science and Technology. Mu Baining had already asked him for the blue background photo in advance. At this point, the degree certificate and graduation certificate had already been affixed and stamped with an official seal. When he saw his graduation certificate and degree certificate, His heart skipped a beat. After receiving these two certificates, he lost his status as a student at Shanghai University of Science and Technology. In a sense, they are no longer college students. Xiaomo, you don't look too happy. Deng Shiki asked, have you encountered something troublesome? No, no, no. Mu Xiaomo shook her head repeatedly. I just feel like all of this is happening in a surreal way. In September, I was still a freshman who had just entered the Magic University. It's only been a little over 4 months, and I've already received my graduation certificate. Upon hearing this, Deng Shiki said, haha, that proves you have the ability. Hurry up and accept it, be sure to keep it safe. Mu Xiaomo nodded and carefully accepted the graduation certificate and degree certificate. At this moment, Mu Baining, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. Congratulations, Xiaomo, on your successful graduation. P.S. This is the only way to graduate. I'm completely numb, please give me a gift. Chapter 163, for the rest of my life, please guide me. Thank you, Principal, thank you, Dean. Mu Xiaomo turned her gaze to Mu Baining. And thank you, Professor Mu. He bowed to the three men, who all smiled in response. For Mu Xiaomo, this is a good thing. Although she has already graduated, she is still a member of Shanghai University of Science and Technology. No need to thank me, Xiaomo. Deng Shiki then spoke up. For these 3 days, have Professor Mu Baining give you a brief overview of the various requirements of our Magic Science University. Then, 3 days later, I will have the academic department produce the class schedule for the next semester. Then you can prepare well. Okay, sure, he nodded emphatically. Now that he has become a professor at the Magic University, he naturally has to follow the rules here. Deng Shiki then turned his attention to Mu Baining. Teacher Baining, I'd appreciate it if you could help Xiaomo familiarize himself with our school's rules over the next 3 days. Then we'll show him the class process and so on. Of course, there will be special preparatory training before the start of the semester. You've known each other for half a year and are quite familiar with each other, so I won't interfere. Don't worry, Principal, leave it to me. Mu Baining nodded, and the 4 of them chatted briefly before he asked Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baining to leave. Deng Shiki, on the other hand, drank tea with Dean Liu. Mu Xiaomo and Mu Baining left the teaching building one after the other. It's been snowing for the past few days, and the campus of Magic University is still a vast expanse of white. Not all the students had left. Many students were pulling their suitcases and walking towards the school gate. Mu Baining, standing beside him, looked ahead without turning her head to ask him a question. How about it, Momo? You went from a student to a professor in the blink of an eye. Doesn't that feel incredibly fulfilling? Mu Xiaomo was taken aback after hearing this. He said, I don't feel a sense of accomplishment, but I'm very happy to be able to work with Professor Mu in the future. Mu Xiaomo chuckled. After all, on the day of the confession, Mu Baining said she would give him a clear answer by the end of the semester. From this moment forward, Mu Baining officially became his girlfriend. However, she must admit this herself. Mu Xiaomo asked, Ningning, do you still remember what you said to me the day you confessed? Mu Baining nodded as she said this. Her expression also became much more serious. Turning her head slightly, Mu Baining looked at Mu Xiaomo's profile and said, It's been almost half a year since we met. I just want to say, please guide me for the rest of my life. Please guide me for the rest of my life. Mu Xiaomo held her hand tightly. Although it wasn't the first time they shook hands, this handshake signifies that the two have officially come together. Just then, another flurry of snowflakes began to fall from the sky. Neither of them said much. After a few minutes, his cell phone suddenly rang. There's a phone call. Mu Xiaomo was taken aback, then took out her phone. The word sister is scrolling across the screen at this moment. It's Xyroxy. He pressed the call button and put the phone to his ear. Hey, Xyroxy, what's up? What else could it be but going home? You said you'd come to Kyoto to pick me up when winter break started, right at the beginning of the semester. I'm so angry, Mu Xiroxy said from across the table. Only then did Mu Xiaomo remember. When Mu Xiroxy was filling out her college application last summer, she wanted to come to Shanghai University of Science and Technology with him. After all, they are siblings, and their relationship is incredibly close. Plus, Mu Xiroxy is quite clingy, so she wanted to attend the same school as him. She said she was scared because she was a girl all alone, especially when I'm going home. At the time, her score was high enough to be admitted to Tsinghua or Peking University, so coming to Magic University would have been a huge waste. Then he promised that he would pick her up in Kyoto every time he had a holiday. Only after hearing this did the girl reluctantly agree. But he still has 7 days until his vacation starts, so he definitely can't go back. Sis, plans can change in a day. I still have 7 days until my vacation. Huh, Mu clearly didn't believe her brother's words. Universities now all start their holidays on January 1st, so why is there still a 7-day break? He must have a girlfriend now, so he doesn't want this younger sister anymore. Mu said coldly, I don't believe you for a second. They all have the same holiday. Before Mu could finish speaking, Mu interrupted her. To tell you the truth, your brother has graduated early and become a professor at the Magic University. I'm busy with some things these 7 days. Listen to me, little sister, and go back by yourself. Of course, the professors from the Magic University. Upon hearing this, Mu face darkened. This is so fake. This guy can't even lie properly. He came up with such an unrealistic reason. Ugh, Tilda, Mu said. Stop talking, brother. You've fallen out of favor, you don't love me anymore, you find me annoying. I'm so disappointed in you for making up such an excuse. Hearing this, Mu said helplessly, if all else fails, you can come to Shanghai to find me. It just so happens that your sister-in-law, and I have planned to travel around for a while after 7 days before returning to Jiangbei. Okay, Tilda. Upon hearing this, Mu cheered repeatedly. Then I'll come to Shanghai to find you, bro. Anyway, I haven't booked my train ticket yet. By the way, where are we going to go for fun in a few days? Mu there's still more than a month until the new year, so we can go anywhere. Well, I'll write up the specific plans. Forehead. Mu face darkened. Letting Mu make the plans isn't out of the question. Okay, then you can do the travel planning. Okay, I'll book a ticket to Shanghai to see you right now, and then we'll see where there's fun to do on the train. Hanged up Tilda. Mu hung up the phone quickly. At the same time, Mu Baining said, Momo is going to take me on a trip. Mu nodded. You've had over a month since the holiday started, and things are pretty much settled at your shop now. Why don't you go and relax? Can? Mu Baining nodded. After all, no one dislikes spending time with just one person. Etc. It doesn't seem like it's just the two of them. Mu wants to come along, that's fine too. Anyway, they are siblings. Moreover, Mu is a funny girl, and I really like her. Of course, she also really liked this younger sister. At this moment, Mu came to her senses. Ning, you haven't had breakfast yet, have you? Why don't we go have some breakfast? If Xyroxy comes today, I'll have to pick her up at the station this afternoon. I'll go with you. Mu Baining smiled and said, It's been a long time since I've seen Xyroxy. To be honest, I miss her a lot too. Punishment. Mu nodded. Then we'll go pick her up together this afternoon. P.S. The previous confession chapter has been revised. We've only officially confirmed our relationship now. No need to go back and look. Chapter 164, bro. You're such a straight man. Soon, Mu and Mu Baining left the school and arrived at the commercial street opposite the school. Once the holidays start, business in the surrounding area will suffer significantly. Although there are residential areas here, most of the people who come here to shop are students. After a quick breakfast, the two of them went back to school hand in hand. For the past 7 days, since his classmates have been on holiday and the dormitories are closed, he has had to stay off campus. There's still some luggage in the dorm. He needs to go get it. This time, Mu did not give Mu Baining a gift. Instead, it was Mu Baining who gave it to him. Although many students were still walking towards the school gate, Mu Baining held her hand tightly. From now on, Mu will no longer be a student. Therefore, her worries disappeared. After dropping him off at the dormitory building, Mu Baining let go of his hand, and a slight smile appeared on her playful face. Hurry up and go up. Oh, by the way, shall I book a room for you online? Need not. He shook his head. Zai is usually quite busy. Let's pick her up and then look at some nearby hotels. That works too. Mu Baining thought for a moment and said, It's a holiday today, and there are still some things to take care of in the office. I'll go and get busy now. You can call me anytime if you need anything. Okay, Ning, you can go ahead and do your work. Mu understood her, and after saying goodbye, Mu Baining left for the time being. Mu took the elevator back to her dormitory. He didn't plan to pack everything up on the bed. He could do it after school started. After the start of the semester, the school will prepare a staff dormitory for him. But of course, Mu does not want to live in the dormitory. Instead, he plans to buy an apartment near the school. That's right, it's about buying a house. After a quick look, there is indeed a particularly suitable residential area near the school. Moreover, all the residences in the community are temperature-controlled rooms. That's really great. A house that's neither too cold in winter nor too hot in summer. This is the kind of house he's always dreamed of. As for money, that's not a problem either. By this time, he already had a considerable amount of savings. As long as you go out and negotiate cooperation with major companies and promote drone delivery technology, buying a house in Shanghai will be a piece of cake. We'll just bring Mu Baining over to live with us then, so we can arrange the flowers. Hey, hey. Thinking of this, a maternal smile appeared on his face. He wasn't afraid of Mu Baining's rejection. His excellent cooking skills alone were enough to win her over completely. We'll talk about it later. Without much thought, he started packing his luggage, stuffing all the clothes he could wear into his suitcase. He stuffed 2 pairs of shoes and some underwear into another suitcase, and then lay down on the bed. He stared blankly at the ceiling. 7 days later, I'll take Mu Baining on a simple trip. I got the first kill Canada Conjoinus Omega Canada Conjoinus, and then I took her home for the new year. Do it this way. A moment later, Mu Xioxi sent him a screenshot. It's a screenshot of her booking a high-speed train ticket. The above indicates that she will arrive in Shanghai at 3:15 p.m. sharp. Just go pick her up beforehand. Time flies, and it was already 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Mu Xiomo had already told Mu Baining in advance that Mu Xioxi would be coming to Shanghai to see him at 3:15 p.m. At this moment, Mu Baining had already driven the car to the dormitory building where Mu Xiomo was located. And I sent him a message. I'm downstairs now. Have you finished packing, Momo? Mu Xiomo didn't reply to her message and ran out of the stairwell a dozen seconds later. At the same time, Mu Baining rolled down the passenger window. I just sent you a message and you came down. Momo, get in the car quickly. The train station will definitely be packed today because it's a holiday. Let's go ahead and not keep Xioxi waiting too long. Upon hearing this, Mu Xiomo nodded. Then Ningning, the roads are slippery in the snow. Why don't I drive? All right. Mu Baining also liked to sit in the passenger seat. She opened the car door and got out. After she walked over, Mu Xiomo also opened the passenger door for her. Mu Baining paused for a moment, then a broad smile spread across her face. Thank you, Momo. You're welcome, please go up. After Mu Baining got into the car, Mu Xiomo turned her head to look at her and then turned to face her. Mu Baining was startled by this scene. What was Xiomo going to do? He reached out and grabbed the seatbelt. Then, when he pulled it over and noticed Mu Baining's face, he was taken aback. At this moment, Mu Baining's expression was like this. Epsilon 9136Z. With her eyes closed and her little mouth pouting. He looked like he wanted to kiss her. Upon seeing this, Mu Xiomo was taken aback. I just fastened her seatbelt, and she started pouting. Since she was pouting, Mu Xiomo had no reason not to kiss her. He kissed Mu Baining's fragrant lips, then said softly, Ningning, I just wanted to fasten your seatbelt, but I didn't expect you to crave my kiss. Mu Baining suddenly opened her eyes. When she saw Mu Xiomo's actions, she thought Mu Xiomo wanted to kiss her. Oh, so it was to fasten her seatbelt. How embarrassing. Mu Xiomo chuckled. It's okay. After school starts after the new year, we'll live together and I'll kiss you every day and exercise with you every day. After saying that, Mu Xiomo started the vehicle. At the same time, Mu Baining frowned deeply. Will you move in together after school starts following the new year? Do you exercise every day? What? Who said I'm going to live with him when school starts after the new year? But, thinking about being able to eat Momo's cooking every day, Mu Baining felt especially excited. Shaking her head, Mu Baining didn't dwell on the matter. Just as Mu Baining had said, the road to Shanghai railway station was extremely congested. There are so many universities in Shanghai, and they all have the same holiday, so it's no wonder there are traffic jams. It took Mu Xiomo more than an hour to drive the car into the train station. But there's absolutely no parking space here. Helpless, Mu Xiomo had no choice but to drive the car away. We found a parking lot near the station. It was already 3:30 p.m. and Mu Xioxi had been there for 15 minutes. Judging from this girl's usual temper, she'd probably be angry already. Mu Baining had already sent a message to Mu Xioxi. They said the traffic was particularly bad today, and with the snow, the roads were very slippery, so I'd be a little late. Upon seeing her sister-in-law's message, The girl immediately stopped being angry. Then the two of them found Mu Xyroxy at the exit of the station. Even the coldest weather couldn't stop her love of beauty. This girl's upper and lower body are completely different seasons. She was wearing a pink down jacket on top and a JK plaid skirt on the bottom, wearing stockings on her legs. They really prioritize style over warmth. Sis, aren't you cold? Wearing stockings in the dead of winter. Mu Xyroxy's face darkened. What stockings? Bro, you're such a straight man. These are bare legs artifacts. Chapter 165, How did Mu Xyroxy become pure, too? I was just kidding, Xyrozai. Look at you like that. He rolled his eyes. The temperature in Shanghai is already close to -10 degrees Celsius. Even if this girl wears sheer tights, she'll still be cold. HMPH, what a clueless straight man. Mu Xyroxy snorted and rolled her eyes. At the same time, Mu Baining, who was next to her, looked at Mu Xyroxy's slender and long legs and said, Xyroxy has such a good figure. What's wrong with dressing up nicely? Exactly, exactly. Mu Xyroxy rolled her eyes at Mu Xyomo. My sister-in-law really understands me. Mu Baining, but, Xiozai, aren't you cold like this? It's not cold, Tilda, Mu Xyroxy chuckled. Kyoto is colder than here. I'm wearing 2 layers of bare leg tights, weighing 400 g. Don't worry, sister-in-law. Mu Xyomo muttered under her breath, prioritizing style over warmth. Snort. Mu Xyroxy completely ignored her brother and handed over 2 suitcases. Help me with my suitcases. Mu Xyomo rolled her eyes as she glanced at the suitcase covered in pink Hello Kitty stickers. After saying, oh, they took the suitcases, and the 3 of them left the exit one after the other. Mu Xyroxy took Mu Baining's hand directly, skipping and laughing, and then asked all sorts of questions. The first question was about her brother becoming a professor at the Magic University. This was simply too surreal for her. And of course, Mu Baining didn't hide anything and told her the whole story. After walking for a while, the 3 of them finally got back into the car. As always, Mu Xyomo drove back to Shanghai University of Science and Technology with Mu Baining and Mu Xyroxy in tow. The car stopped in front of his dormitory building. Since it was already afternoon, almost all the students who were on holiday had already left. Of course, a small number of students didn't manage to get train tickets and had to leave their suitcases outside while they tried to book a hotel for the night. Momo, I'll head back now. You take Xyrozai out for dinner and rest tonight. See you tomorrow. Mu Baining still has a lot of documents to process today, so she plans to take care of her own business first. Mu Xyomo didn't pay any attention. Everyone has their own things to do. Moreover, her current goal is to settle Mu Xyroxy in first. Okay, Ning Ning, you can go ahead and do your thing. Goodbye, sister-in-law Tilda. Mu Xyroxy waved to Mu Baining, and soon Mu Baining drove away. After Mu Baining walked away, Mu Xyroxy chuckled and looked at Mu Xyomo, asking, Hey bro, are you bringing your wife home for Chinese New Year this year? Mu Xyroxy hadn't dared to ask in the car, but after hearing her words, Mu Xyomo nodded. Sister guessed right. Do you want your sister-in-law to come home with us for the new year? Yes, I want to. Mu Xyroxy nodded emphatically. Brother, I've noticed that you've done a really good job. You found me such a beautiful sister-in-law. Your sister-in-law is a cosplayer just like you. Because Mu Baining and Mu Xyroxy share the same interests, and they are only 3 years apart in age, they can actually get along well. Upon hearing this, Mu Xyroxy's eyes lit up. Really, bro, you're not kidding me, are you? He rolled his eyes. As your brother, when have I ever lied to you? Yeah, that's true. Mu Xyomo scratched his head. But you don't do cosplay, how did you know? Silly little sister. Looking at Mu Xyroxy, who had a hopeful and innocent expression, he smiled and said, I went to meet your sister-in-law's parents a while ago. Then I saw it in her closet. Upon hearing this, Mu Xyroxy was stunned. Good heavens, they've all gone to meet their sister-in-law's parents. Is the development speed really that fast? Mu Xyroxy asked. Then, have you ever kissed your sister-in-law? Isn't that obvious? It has to be said that Mu Xyroxy is truly innocent and naive. I wonder which boy will benefit from this in the future. Mu Xyroxy continued, You've already kissed, so what about? At this moment, her face suddenly turned very red. Mu Xyomo was stunned for a moment, then glared fiercely at Mu Xyroxy. As the most pure man in the world, he naturally understood what Mu Xyroxy meant, and how come this girl has become so pure. His face darkened, and he glared at Mu Xyroxy. Get out, Xyroxy, what nonsense are you spouting? I'm going upstairs to get my suitcase. You wait here for me. No, I'll go up with you. Mu Xyroxy dropped her suitcase, and followed Musayomo up to the dormitory building. The holiday has started, and so has the dormitory supervisor. Of course, there's also access control. Musayomi followed closely behind Musayomo, and when the door opened, she dashed inside. Hey, hey! She looked around with great curiosity. As a girl, this was her first time entering a boys' dormitory, and she was particularly curious about what was in the boys' dormitory. Hey bro, which floor is your dorm on? Fourth floor, Musayomo said rather coldly, and Musayomi responded with an "oh," just as the elevator doors opened. Once inside, he pressed the button for the fourth floor. The elevator doors opened, and Musayomo led Musayomi to the stairwell. Bro, your dorm is pretty nice. Which dorm is yours? 448. Musayomi is like a little shadow. She can be so annoying. I used my campus card to open the door, and the moment I pushed it open, a very familiar smell rushed into my nostrils. That's right, it smells like Huang Wengsu's stinky feet. It's winter now, and because of the cold weather, Huang Wengsu is too lazy to wash his feet, let alone take a bath. Then cleaning shoes in winter is a real hassle, so I just don't bother cleaning them at all. That's how it tastes now. Of course, Musayomo was used to it. Musayomi was truly overwhelmed by the smell. Ugh, Tilda. She gagged and quickly pinched her nose with her little hand. This smell is so strong. Brother, how long has it been since you washed your feet? Musayomo rolled her eyes. Don't talk nonsense, it's my roommate's stinky feet that smell. I really don't know how you survived in this kind of environment. Musayomi did not go in. Soon, Musayomo came out pulling 2 suitcases. After closing the door, he looked Musayomi up and down. I didn't ask you to come. You insisted on coming along. Okay, let's look at hotels near the hotel. I didn't book a hotel this time because I was afraid you wouldn't like it. Oh, Tilda. Mu Baining immediately opened the ugly group app. I walked while staring at my phone screen. Before long, Musayomi found a small apartment. After all, we'll be staying here for 7 days. The suites are quite comfortable. Brother, how about I book a suite? There are 2 rooms with a kitchen. I haven't eaten your cooking for a very long time. I want to eat your cooking. Chapter 166. Why do I get the feeling you're thinking about your juniors from high school? Musayomi was like a spoiled kitten. Seeing her like that, Musayomo gently rubbed her head. Then he nodded. Okay, whatever my sister says goes. After all, I'm your sister. Hee Tilda. Musayomi was especially excited after hearing Musayomo agree to her request. She couldn't resist going up to him and giving him a big kiss on the cheek. Brother, I love. Musayomo shrugged. Musayomi had kissed him a lot when they were little, especially when fulfilling certain desires of this girl. I love you too. He shook his head, just as the 2 of them entered the elevator. Seeing Musayomi's smiling face, he asked, By the way, sis, it's been half a year, haven't you found a boyfriend yet? Not. Musayomi pursed her lips and shook her head. I have very high standards for my boyfriend. I want someone even more handsome than you. Not just anyone can catch my eye. Musayomo teased. Sis, I have a feeling. You're still thinking about your high school classmate, Zairo Zaioi. Upon hearing this, Musayomi's face immediately turned slightly red. She gently punched Musayomo's chest with her pink little fist. Hate. Seeing her expression, Musayomo was taken aback. Goodness, it really is true. Zairo Zaioi was their junior in high school, 1 year younger than them. Zairo Zaioi's father and his father knew each other and often drank together. When they were young, they often played together as well. I can say I'm extremely familiar with it. Well, you could say that Musayomi and Zairo Zaioi are practically childhood sweethearts. Seeing the girl's blushing face, Musayomo said, Why don't I go back and talk to Zairo and ask him if he can reluctantly accept you? Musayomi said hesitantly, Well, it's not impossible. His face darkened. This younger sister is something else. Just then, Musayomi suddenly raised her head and said angrily, What do you mean by reluctantly accepting me? I'm not even sure I'd like him. Forget it. He knew his own sister's character. The elevator doors opened, and Musayomo and Musayomi quickly left the boys' dormitory building. Then each person pulled 2 suitcases and left the Magic University. Their figures, resembling those of a couple, attracted the attention of many classmates. The snowflakes in the sky didn't stop, and because it was a holiday, many students were strolling around the shopping street. Sis, have you booked the hotel yet? The 2 stared at each other on the street. Musayomi had only said she wanted to book a suite, but he didn't know which hotel it was. Musayomi shook her head. No, didn't you order it? His face darkened. This silly little sister is truly someone who only takes and never gives. After booking the hotel online, Muzaya Omo and her returned to the hotel. This is a suite. It's very spacious, over 100 square meters with 2 bedrooms, a living room, 2 toilets, and a kitchen. They even have kitchen utensils. Of course, these rooms are also extremely expensive. It costs more than 2,000 yuan a night. Staying for 7 days costs 14,000. In the past, he definitely wouldn't have stayed in a hotel like this. Unfortunately, he's now a minor tycoon. Upon entering the room, Mu Xiaoxi immediately let go of her suitcases in her left and right hands, and excitedly ran to the sofa, plopping down on it. Then she rubbed her stomach and said, "Brother, I'm hungry. I want to eat grilled fish." "You've grown up eating grilled fish. Aren't you tired of it yet?" "No, Tilda." Mu Xiaoxi shook her head. "I haven't been home for more than 4 months, and I've almost forgotten what grilled fish tastes like. If I remember correctly, we have a branch in Kyoto, right?" Mu Xiaoxi nodded. "Yes, there are, but I haven't been. I always feel that the taste of the branch is not quite right." "All right." I checked the time. It was almost 5 o'clock. The sky outside the window was gradually getting dark. He said, "Well, tidy yourself up a bit, change your pants, and we'll go to the supermarket to buy cooking ingredients later. We'll invite your sister-in-law over for dinner tonight." Okay, Tilda. She was a person who was easily satisfied. After hearing Muzaya Omo's words, she immediately pulled her suitcase and ran into a room. Muzaya Omo also pulled her suitcase and entered another room. The hotel was nicely decorated, and the room had a large bed measuring 2 x 2.2 m. The bed was covered with dark red bedding, but he hadn't changed his clothes since they were new that day. Instead, he took out his phone and called Mu Baining. Mu Baining answered the call quickly. A gentle voice came from the phone. "What's wrong, Momo? Is there something you need?" Muzaya Omo. "No, I miss you, Ningning." Mu Baining was silent for a moment, then said, "You missed me. I just finished my work. Have you booked a room with Xiaoxi yet?" He stood up and slowly walked to the windowsill, where the snowflakes were falling even harder than before. Looking at the night view of Shanghai, Muzaya Omo said, "I showed Xiaoxi a suite. There's a kitchen here. He was just saying he wanted to eat grilled fish. Why don't we eat together?" "Okay, Tilda." Mu Baining didn't stand on ceremony and readily agreed. "It's a good opportunity for my sister to try my cooking. We can cook for her together." "Okay, I'm taking Xiaoxi to Huasheng's supermarket to buy some things later. I'll call you when we leave, and we'll see you at the supermarket." "Okay, I'm all set here. See you later." "See you later, Tilda." After hanging up the phone, he heard Mu Xiaoxi's footsteps behind him. Mu Xiaoxi gently patted his shoulder. "Brother, I've changed my clothes, Tilda." He turned his head and looked Mu Xiaoxi up and down. This girl didn't change into trousers, but she changed into a skirt. It seems even shorter now. Upon seeing this, Mu Xiaomo's face immediately turned fierce. "Zai, what did I just tell you? I asked you to change into trousers, not a skirt." Upon hearing this, Mu Xiaoxi's expression immediately turned somewhat aggrieved. I forgot to bring my pants. My suitcase is full of dresses." This statement left Mu Xiaomo speechless. You might as well be a skirt in your next life." He shrugged, knowing there was nothing he could do. He said, "Are you all packed? Let's go to the supermarket to buy things. Your sister-in-law will come with us." Okay, Tilda. "Love you." Mu Xiaoxi made a heart shape with her hands again. P.S. This is the son of the male protagonist in Zyro Xiaoi's second book. I'm not asking for flowers today. Good night, everyone, Tilda. Chapter 167. I just don't like Xiaoxi very much. Seeing Mu Xiaoxi's innocent look, Mu Xiaomo gently rubbed her cheek. "All right, hurry up and go downstairs. Don't keep your sister-in-law waiting too long." Soon, the two left the hotel one after the other. It was snowing heavily outside, and the hotel thoughtfully provided them with umbrellas. Mu Xiaomo asked for an extra one. That's right, it was for Ningning. The shopping street was as crowded as ever. Today was the start of a holiday, and train tickets were hard to come by, so many students chose to go shopping with their girlfriends. Then at night, in response to the birth policy, they made contributions. Chinese letter. The two sisters, Mu Xiaomo and Mu Xiaoxi, walked for about 5 or 6 minutes with their umbrellas before arriving at the Huasheng supermarket. There weren't many people at the supermarket entrance. Mu Baining hadn't arrived yet. Just wait for her. There was a Mixu ice cream shop at the supermarket entrance, playing the background music. "You love me, I love you, Mixu ice cream, so sweet." Damn, the memories just came back. Wait, why can you send voice messages, author? At this moment, Mu Xyroxy licked her lips and swallowed. Despite the exceptionally cold weather, this girl still wanted to eat an Oreo sundae. She glanced at Mu Xyomo furtively, and after confirming that no one was paying attention to her, she tiptoed toward Mixu ice cream. She was afraid her brother would find out. Meanwhile, Mu Xyomo, who was standing to the side, had already noticed Mu Xyroxy's movements. Xiaozai, stop right there, Mu Xyomo said seriously, and upon hearing her brother's voice, Mu Xyroxy's face immediately darkened. Does this guy have eyes in the back of his head? How did you find her? She sighed reluctantly, turned her head away and looked aggrieved. Bro, do you have eyes in the back of your head? You're so annoying. I heard your footsteps. Mu Xyomo looked at her droopy little face and then at the Mixu ice cream shop behind her. You're not thinking of buying an Oreo sundae again, are you? Heh bro, you really know me, Tilda. Mu Xyroxy immediately looked at him expectantly and said in a coquettish tone, Then, brother, are you going to buy it for me? Impossible. Mu Xyomo waved her hand emphatically. The temperature is 9 degrees Celsius today, and you're telling me you want a sundae. If I'm not mistaken, my period is coming in 3 days, right? Aren't you afraid your period will kill you? Upon hearing this, Mu Xyroxy's face immediately darkened. She muttered, What period? I'm not afraid of it. Hey, my sister-in-law's here. Mu Xyroxy suddenly raised her head and said something. Upon hearing her voice, Mu Xyomo quickly turned her head away. But where is there any sister-in-law? Mu Xyroxy had already rushed towards Mixu ice cream at the first opportunity. After running into the store, she said, An Oreo sundae, please. By the time Mu Xyomo came to her senses, Mu Xyroxy beside her had already disappeared. He saw Mu Xyroxy's figure through the glass of Mixu ice cream. I was staring intently at the Mixu ice cream staff making sundaes. This younger sister, Sai, he shook his head. Some things are simply beyond our control. Mu Xyomo turned his head, and when he did, he saw Mu Baining not far away. She was wearing a long white down jacket and black boots, and she wasn't carrying an umbrella when she walked over. Upon seeing this, Mu Xyomo quickly ran over. There were many white snowflakes on her head. Seeing Mu Baining like this, he felt a little sorry for her. Is Ning Ning stupid? Doesn't she know to bring an umbrella when she goes out? As she spoke, Mu Xyomo handed her another umbrella and helped her sweep the snow off her head. Mu Baining said softly, I forgot. Tusk, Ning Ning is so silly. Mu Baining rolled her eyes, didn't answer her question, and instead asked, Where's Xyroxy? As soon as Mu Baining finished speaking, Mu Xyroxy skipped and hopped out of Mixu ice cream, holding an Oreo sundae in my hand. He quickly ran to their side. Upon seeing Mu Baining, she chuckled and said, Sister-in-law, would you like a chocolate sundae? I'm not eating. Mu Baining was taken aback. This Mu Xyroxy looked exactly like her when she was a child. In the dead of winter, I just love eating these icy and cold things. Mu Xyroxy took a spoon, scooped out a piece of sundae and put it in her mouth. Mu Baining frowned slightly. Little sister, you should eat less or you might get diarrhea. It's okay, I rarely get diarrhea. That's good, Tilda. Mu Xyomo. Then let's go to the supermarket to buy some things. It's been a long time since I cooked by myself, and my hands are itching to cook. Let's go, let's go. The three of them quickly entered the supermarket. Mu Xyroxy has been as lazy as a pig since she was a child. She has never cooked, let alone picked out vegetables. But Mu Baining and Mu Xyroxy had already become very close. Little sister, I can make sweet and sour pork ribs. Would you like to have ribs for dinner? I want to eat cola chicken wings. Bye. Sister-in-law, let's buy a durian. In the end, their shopping carts were completely full. Mu Xyroxy bought a big bag of snacks, including beef jerky, jelly, potato chips, durian, and the like. Mu Xyomo and Mu Baining bought some vegetables and seasonings. Of course, Kingjiang fish is indispensable. My younger sister's favorite dish is the Kingjiang fish he makes. Not only that, they also bought some crayfish. Back at the hotel, I checked, and thankfully there was an oven. Otherwise, the Kingjiang fish dish wouldn't be able to be made. Mu Xyroxy carried 2 large shopping bags of snacks and threw them directly onto the coffee table in the living room. Then she took off her shoes, crossed her legs, opened a bag of Lay's potato chips, and turned on the TV. I started watching Balala the Fairies. Upon seeing this, Mu Xyomo's face darkened. Why doesn't this girl go help out in the kitchen? Xiaozai, you're living a pretty good life. Hee right, Tilda. Mu Xyroxy smiled innocently. Go cook, I'm starving. I'll have some snacks to replenish my energy first. It has to be said that Mu Xyroxy's life is truly leisurely. I'm so envious. This girl can't cook, and he never expected her to help. But Mu Zyaomo still retorted, if you keep going like this, you'll turn into a little fat pig sooner or later, and since you can't cook, you'll definitely never find a boyfriend. Snort. Mu Xiroxy gave a haughty snort. He remained seated on the sofa, unmoved. Seeing this, Mu Baining laughed. Okay, Momo, I was like that when I was a kid, too. I didn't do anything, and my dad often scolded me for it. She can cook now, but she's still young, so let's not criticize her. I know. Mu Zyaomo nodded. It's just that sometimes I don't like the look of her. Let's cook. Hey. Chapter 168, come on. Ning Ning, open your mouth and taste how delicious the shrimp your husband made is. Soon, Mu Zyaomo and Mu Baining were busy in the kitchen. The old saying goes that working together as a team makes the work easier.